All right, here's to swimming with bow-legged women. My name is Matty, and you're listening to the No Nerds Were Harmed podcast. This is a podcast about movies, comics, games, and all things nerdy. I'm here with my co-host, Tyler.
Hello.
And we're without Sam today. Sam had LASIK surgery done, so she's upstairs sleeping. So, yeah, we're going to be without her, so whenever we need to look something up, we're on our own. We got our brains or our phones, and we're going to have to do with that, yeah. But, Tyler, let them know what we got for them today.
We're getting into my pick of the month. Jaws. Finally. A favorite of mine.
I feel like this is something that since we started the podcast, you're like, I can't fucking wait to talk about Jaws.
I keep saying, like, we wanted to do it in the summer, and then things came out, and then when we talked about our picks, I was like, I guess I can do Jaws for my pick. But now it's coming out in theaters. Yeah. So we're re-releasing in theaters in IMAX and 3D for the first time. So it was like, oh, well, this makes perfect sense to do Jaws now.
It worked out super well.
Yeah, it actually worked out.
So like Tyler said, we're going to cover Jaws. We got nerd news for you guys, replay, watch, and we're going to tell you what's going on with the next episode. So we're going to get started right here with our nerd news. I got something that's kind of exciting since we're talking about movie theaters right now. Mm-hmm. Have you heard about this mega bag, this AMC mega bag?
No, is this like the Movie Pass coming back?
No. Okay, so the AMC Theaters Mega Bag, it is 3 times bigger than a large size popcorn, and it is $15 for this. Oh my god! And a regular popcorn, a large popcorn, is $10.
Yeah, $10. Yeah.
So you can get 3 times that amount for $15.
Jesus Christ!
I want to get the bag just to see how actually big it is, and I might get it tomorrow when I go to the movies.
It's ridiculous.
I'm like, this is cool. Some people like that AMC popcorn. I prefer AMC popcorn to most other theaters that I've been to, so I'm stoked to try it out.
It's a lot of popcorn.
It is a lot of popcorn.
Did you see that there's no plans, or you could say it was canceled for DC fandom?
I did.
Another just huge... Everyone's like, oh, their excuse made it even more of like, oh, wow, this is a red flag. Because they were like, with the return of Comic-Cons and all these things, we don't feel the need to have to host our own DC-like fandom.
That's some bullshit.
Would you ever see Disney pull that? Like, no. No, dude. You have your own platform to put off all your products. That just means DC's fully like... We don't want to put X amount of dollars into creating a fandom, especially if they have nothing to roll out.
That's what I heard is one of the biggest decisions.
It's all what ifs.
Like, what are they going to promote?
Yep.
The things that they've already promoted.
It's a smart move actually on DC's part to like can that, but at the same time, it's like it's just again every week it's something new where it's like, geez, man, this is really happening.
I know.
So
it's super crazy.
No DC fandom. If you were looking forward to that, tune into all your Comic-Con stuff because it's not coming this year.
I mean, really, the only thing that they have left to promote outside of what they've already promoted is Blue Beetle.
Yeah, and that's maybe if that even makes it. That maybe, like, you know what I mean? And that's maybe what's sad, some Joker I'm actually 2, excited for that.
Maybe some Joker 2 footage.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, they have some things that they've announced on HBO that's gotten like renewed for other seasons and stuff, but it's nothing like game changing. That's like, oh, this is big news. So it's a sad state.
Yeah, it really is. So I have this piece about Danny DeVito, sorry. I was going to say his daughter's name, Lucy DeVito. So I don't know if you've seen this this interview that he did with Vanity Fair. So they were promoting Lucy DeVito's new animated show. This is a Amazon show, or no, a Hulu show, and it's called Little Demon. It's animated.
He plays Danny DeVito's the devil.
Yeah, with Aubrey Plaza as well.
Yeah.
And they did a lie detector test for Vanity Fair, and it was a really cool interview. It was so fun. I'm actually going to post it on the Facebook page next week. But they asked Danny DeVito. His daughter is asking the question, and she puts a picture up to him, and she goes, "What do you think about this guy?" And it's Colin Farrell. And this is the one where he said, you may have heard this quote where he's like, "Oh, Colin, I love Colin. He's a terrific guy, but my penguin was better." And it's such a good interview. It was so fun to watch. I laughed out loud 3 or 4 times. It was hilarious.
Danny DeVito's always got good quotes, too. He was just, like, quoted. They asked him about Phil, and he said something like, if they don't recast me, they have no balls, or something like that. Or if they don't cast me to play live-action film, they have no balls, or something like that.
He wants to do it, yeah.
That's how he's always been, though. That's how he got his first role and got first casted, because he walked in the casting room and bitched out the producer and the writer saying, like, this is the biggest horse shit I've ever read. Like, I don't know how you want me to audition with this.
I just know that.
And they were like, this guy's perfect for the role. And they hired him. Yeah.
Nice.
So he's always been like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna post it this week, so you'll get to see it. It was a great interview.
Paramount Plus and Showtime are going to combine their streaming platforms.
Oh,
Yeah. Not a huge deal, but another just kind of one company taking on the other, combining. So you're starting to see all these companies that own other stuff is starting to realize, oh, it's a better idea if we just start putting it all into one.
Yeah.
So that's the next one coming. Paramount Plus and Showtime.
I do subscribe to Paramount Plus, and it was one of those things that I'm like, Sam, do we really need this anymore?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But so we'll see. It's got all the Nickelodeon stuff, and that's what they're into.
Right.
Nope. I don't know if you've seen that, obviously, listeners, if you've listened to us, you know that we covered the movie Nope. And people are going crazy. Not crazy, but people are getting skeptical. I guess there's somebody on IMDb for the movie Nope, and it's credited as Nobody is the character's name. And Jordan Peele said, yeah, a lot of fans are doing some detective work right now, and it's kind of interesting. He goes, but I got to say that we are not over telling the story of these characters. And he's kind of insinuated that he hasn't said it's going to be a movie, a show, or a comic book, a short story, or anything like that. He just said that he's not done telling the story of these certain characters. And I was like, interesting, because I thought when I read the character Nobody, I thought that they were referring to the man that was on the bike, the TMZ dude. But it's not. It's a completely different character who's in the trailer but not in the movie, and he's walking towards the chaos when everyone's running away. It's very interesting. I'll have it up on the video for this episode, but I didn't notice this before, and I thought it was interesting.
It's that, or Jordan Peele's just that much of a genius when it comes to publicity, where he's spinning this shit. Because it could be as simple as Homeboy's scene got cut, and they still were nice enough to give him a credit. It could be that simple.
Yeah.
And that's very, very, very... I mean, it's not super common when you get cut. Usually you don't get credits, but it's very nice to get... They have to go out of their way to do it, and it's very nice to see productions do it. And it could be something like that. The internet's taking it and running with it, and Jordan's like, yeah, sure. Because, again, dude's trying to get people to view his movie, and it's working because it's just making a bunch of fucking money.
With that being said, with his 3 films, is there one that you would rather see a sequel to opposed to the others? Is Nope one of them?
I don't know. I like Nope kind of as a solo movie. I don't know if I need like more alien interaction.
I feel like it's the only one that I had.
That's the thing with those. All 3 of those, I feel like I don't need another story of this.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? Unless something crazy happens to that another. It could be the same character in a different situation, but then it's like, this is the most unlucky person in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like weird because it makes sense when you do it with like Patrick Wilson and all that. Like when they do the what is that? All the movies that's not Insidious. Yeah, Insidious. All those are connected. Mm-hmm. But since they're ghost hunters, when they go to these different things, they experience different ghosts. So like you can get different versions.
Oh, that's Conjuring. Yeah,
or Conjuring. Yeah, he is.
They're both
Insidious,
James Wan and they're both Patrick
correct.
Wilson. So yeah,
Conjuring. But it's the same thing where like everything is different. They're ghost hunters. That makes sense. A random rancher now experiencing another crazy like travesty. It's delicate. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And the shit's so good. I just hope it doesn't get like overplayed bullshit. But again, he's built the credit where he can kind of do whatever the hell he wants right now, and I trust him. I'll go see it.
Yeah.
So
whatever you got.
Resident Evil at Netflix was canceled after 1 season.
I
haven't started yet either, but didn't even. Hasn't been out long, and they already were like, nope.
I was more enticed to watch the pilot episode after I had heard that it was canceled. I was like, oh man, I got to see how shitty this is now.
So not a good sign for all you Resident Evil fans.
No, it's not.
It's done.
Halloween Ends. This was released, I think, last week. Halloween Ends will be going on to Peacock. It will be streaming as well as being in the theaters. Yes.
Oh, well, I'll probably watch that at home.
Absolutely. It's going to be out the same day, Peacock, October 14th.
Cool.
So I'm excited for that because I wasn't going to pay to see that because I didn't really care for Halloween Kills.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, okay, I'm going to stream it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Gotham Knights is now getting released 3 days early, October 21st. So I don't know why they moved it from the 24th to the 21st, but we're getting it 3 days early, so that's nice.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So they also released like IGN did their we played it early review that they always do on all the games. So there's 15 minutes of them talking about what they experienced watching the game, playing the game. That's online now too. So we got to see it. Pretty cool.
Well, that's super cool then, because considering, I mean, I don't know the likeliness of them pulling a game once they've already released it for people to test play.
Yeah, no, IGN's usually like a month or two before the game is coming out. IGN plays it and gives it its review because it's big hype of this is where we kind of score it. This is, and it's IGN, so they always pump it up, but they also will tell you the flaws of the game and all this kind of stuff. So it's kind of your official this is what we think. Go play it. Let us know. So
nice.
It's coming out. There's no it is what it is. So yeah, I'm excited.
That's exciting for sure.
Yep.
I have few trailers here.
Okay.
So I watched a trailer for the new Weird Al Yankovic movie.
Yep, I've seen
Weird. Dude, it looks fucking cool.
Yeah, it looks funny.
Fun. I mean, it's not good. It could shock me completely and be like, holy shit, this is Daniel Radcliffe's best role ever. But it looked fun. And for people who don't know, you could look up that trailer. It comes out November.
Called Weird.
Yeah, just Weird. November 4th, and that's going to be on Roku, and that's a free streaming service. So if you guys want to look that up, go ahead and look it up.
Mm-hmm.
The other trailer I have is the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah, I've been watching this. I've been tracking this for a while. It's one of those you watch a trailer and you can't tell, did they want to purposely make a bad horror movie?
Okay.
Or is this someone who thinks this is the best idea of all time and it's executed just so poorly that it's going to work? And that's what's crazy. The most impressive thing out of all of it, though, is that this dude had this idea and this thing shot and ready to go. So when the IP of Winnie the Pooh expired, which was this year, he was like, all right, well, here we go. Got the movie.
Okay, nice.
Because the thing is this shit's gonna happen you're gonna see Winnie the Pooh in all sorts of different shit because Disney no longer owns Winnie the Pooh. They own that image, so Winnie the Pooh in a red shirt, can't see that. But you can use the name Winnie the Pooh in the character now.
Ah, okay.
So they only own his likeness of that actual Winnie the Pooh that they created, that version of him.
Okay.
The IP of Winnie the Pooh is now it's free range. It's expired. It's been over 100 years or whatever the hell the time period is.
Nice.
So you're going to see this shit all the time. So that's what's important, to be the first at the ball, because all of a sudden Winnie the Pooh is going to get played real quick. Everyone's going to be doing Winnie the Pooh shit in different iterations. So a horror Winnie the Pooh is inevitable.
Yeah.
So you got to be the first to do it. It's just this guy, it looks like a terrible B horror movie, but again, it's props to him in a weird way. I don't know.
For listeners, so the main concept of this movie is that Christopher Robin has grown up, and since he's grown up, he kind of forgot about Pooh and Piglet and Eeyore and the 100 Acre Woods. So now he's going back, and when he gets there, they kind of resent the fact that Christopher Robin's left, so they're just killing
they're
people.
Just monstrous creatures, and the masks just look terrible. It just doesn't. It looks like a C-rate horror movie.
The only thing I can think of is that maybe it's just in his head, so maybe he's going to be doing it himself. I don't know what's going on. It was kind of a cool trailer. It's an interesting trailer, so if you guys want to check that out, check it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth a trailer to be like, holy shit, someone's making this a movie.
There's no release date. There's no what streaming service or anything like that. It's just a trailer right now, so we'll keep you posted on that.
Other video game news, Overwatch 2 is finally combining console and PC profiles, which is something that I stopped playing Overwatch because I spent so much money on loot boxes to get skins and just stupid shit. Then when I went to PC, they don't transfer. Mm-hmm. And it's bullshit because every other game can transfer. So it was a clear money grab of sorry, different platforms, got to rebuy your stuff. And people have been freaking out. And Overwatch 2 is coming out, which all your skins from the original transfer over to the game, to the sequel.
Yeah.
And they just sent out an email and a patch where if you log in on your console, you get a notification of saying hey, link up your battle or your Blizzard battle account, which is Overwatch is ran by Blizzard. So you have an account. And that now links up with your PC. And when you start Overwatch 2, all your shit will be combined and in there. Okay. So it's huge. It's just one of those huge things where it's something that doesn't matter to a lot of people, but to another lot of people, it's a big thing.
So if you have that old stuff, is it you could bring it over? Or
it all comes with.
Okay.
No. Nice. It all comes with. So
Gotcha.
It's going to combine both of those, and it's going to give it to you, and then everything there on out is on this one profile.
Cool.
which is just something they've never offered, which for years everyone's been like, we know you have the ability to do this. Like, just do it. Every other game, Fortnite, you can play on whatever you want.
Yeah.
There's so many games you can name that you do it. You log on, Call of Duty, whatever console you log on, your shit's there. And they always copped out on, well, your profile's based for competitive play off of this and that, and we can't combine the competitive on console versus PC because it's a different advantage type thing. All this shit, but it's all just like, this is bullshit for money. Finally, they pleaded, or they gave in to the fans, and they're giving it to us. They're also eliminating loot boxes, which is huge, because loot boxes you earn through playing, and you can also buy with real money. So like, I can put in like $50 and get 50 loot boxes. A loot box has 5 items in it, ranging from common, rare, epic to legendary.
Gotcha.
Random choices of things. It's essentially gambling. You hit the box, you don't know what's in it, it pops, all these fireworks go off and coins shoot out, and then your items pop up. So it's like kind of like gambling.
Okay.
And it's been a very big thing in video games. Of people have gone nuts with they call them microtransactions, because it's teaching kids to gamble, essentially. So like, it's outlawed in certain countries in the UK and shit, like that, like you can't play Overwatch, or they can't sell any kind of that shit in there because it's just outlawed, but America doesn't give a shit. But Blizzard has come out because they've been under fire for everything this year. They're like very close to just being canceled in general. But no more loot boxes. Everything's just going to be in a marketplace that you can just straight up buy. Okay. So like, it's still microtransactions, so you still can put in money, but there's no thrill of like taking the chance, rolling the dice, which is the part I love, you know? So it's just one of those things, but it's kind of a step in the right direction in a way, I guess, but it's just something big, and a big part of Overwatch that's now going to be eliminated.
Okay. Streaming news. Rings of Power is out on Prime. Elvis is now available on HBO Max.
House of Dragons on HBO too.
House of Dragons on HBO. Have you started that?
No, I have not. I'm probably going to wait until it's all done, like usual.
I did hear it got picked up for a second season already.
Great things though, which is crazy considering how everyone hated the like last season of Game of Thrones traditionally. Yeah, my one buddy's like, this reminds me of Old Thrones. Like, you need to get back on this. So I'm excited. I'm definitely going to check it out, because I was a huge Game of Thrones guy. So.
All right, nice. And then starting at the end of this week, you guys will be able to watch Thor 4 and Pinocchio on Disney Plus. That'll be on the 8th.
Umbrella Academy showrunner Steve Blackman is supposedly the one that's been chosen to develop a Horizon Zero Dawn series on Netflix, which is the video game I talked about a couple weeks ago. Yeah. It's a game that I think could transition pretty well to a show, to be honest, without like reinventing the wheel. It's just traditionally video game shows never work out. I mean, look what happened to Resident Evil. You know, Halo show did terrible. We'll see, but I hope to have high hopes. Umbrella Academy gets a bunch of praise, so hopefully he's the guy to maybe
another Netflix
do
thing?
It. Yeah. Okay. And it'll be on Netflix. Yep. So there's no timetable, no nothing. It's not even like casting or anything. He's just the name that's now attached with the idea of developing a Horizon Zero Dawn show. So
gotcha.
Something to keep your eyes on if you are a fan of the game.
I usually have a last piece that goes into our topic, and I don't this episode.
There's not many shark things.
Yeah, there was no news on Spielberg. There was no news on Jaws or anything, but I do have a nice piece here. So this new Spider-Man No Way Home that just came out, the re-release,
the like 11 minutes.
Yeah, this is a spoiler for some people. So if they, you know how the end credit was the Multiverse of Madness trailer? Mm-hmm. Well, they took that out because the movie's already out, obviously, and they put a new scene at the end of the movie, and I have the spoiler here of what happens. I don't know if you've read this yet. No. So what happens is it's the video yearbook of Betty Brant, the chick who does all the videos and everything for the school, and it shows footage and pictures of everybody, and they talk about the memories and don't forget the memories, and it shows stuff from Homecoming and then Far From Home, and it shows them like with the group photo in Europe, and Peter's there, but there's a pigeon in front of his face, and then it shows pictures from the Homecoming, from the movie Homecoming, or whatever dance it was in the Homecoming movie, and you could see Ned is talking to somebody, but you see just an over the shoulder of Peter. So it's kind of addressed the fact that when people look at these photos, they know they talked to somebody, but they don't know
they don't
who.
know
Which is interesting because it's been a question of how did Doctor Strange's spell actually work? How does it take Peter out of pictures? Well, no, it does not take him out of pictures, but it's going to make the ability of these people who look at these pictures say, who the fuck is this?
Right.
Which will be interesting for certain pictures like of Peter shaking Tony's hand and stuff like that. We don't get to see any of that, but this will be an interesting scene to see considering going forward, nobody's going to remember Peter Parker's Spider-Man. And that's all I got for Nerd News, guys. We're going to get into this Jaws discussion, and we're going to be doing a scene-by-scene breakdown. So if you guys have never seen Jaws before, you guys are in for a treat. So Jaws came out in 1975 and is directed by Steven Spielberg.
Who was 26 at the time, bro.
No
Think
shit.
of that. Think of being 26 and putting a movie out like this. Fucking crazy, dude.
That is pretty crazy. I didn't know that. I didn't do the math. For people who aren't familiar at all, Steven Spielberg is behind Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones, E.T., newer film Ready Player One. He's a fantastic director. And Jaws has a... You ready for these? I don't know if you looked up any of the Rotten Tomatoes.
I got a bunch of fucking
Oh
Jaws
my gosh,
facts, bro.
97% on the tomato meter. 90% on the audience. Does this surprise you?
No.
No?
No.
It surprises me.
No, because, again, and the argument that I'm going to use a lot in this, because it's the facts, there is zero green screen at this point.
Okay.
There is zero any kind of special effects other than what you can do practically or what you can do as far as pulling a trick off with shooting in cameras. Like, when you think of that and everything that he put in together with this and then put it in front of an audience that has never seen a type of movie like this do these kind of things, no, it doesn't surprise me you get that kind of score at all.
It's kind of shocking
just a game
to me.
changer.
I think 97% is crazy. That's like 5 stars, and I don't give anything 5 stars. Even my favorite movies don't get 5 stars. So that's pretty fucking nuts, 97%. But I understand it all. I would ask you, this is the point in any of the episodes that we do that I say, do you fuck with this movie? But we know you fuck with this movie.
Oh, yeah.
I do fuck with this movie now. I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan of it, but I'm a fan. I understand it all. What was your first impressions? Do you know how old you were when you saw this movie, or?
No, I remember seeing it when I was pretty young, but it didn't really hit me or anything.
Appreciate it?
Yeah. And then it was probably around high school or college where I like watched it, and I remember like getting an hour in and being like, this is fucking incredible. Like, for being a movie from the 70s, like, this is fucking crazy, dude. And then once I got out into college and took a Spielberg Lucas class, and shout out Joe Fortunato, my professor, he's like a Jaws nut. Like, everything is Jaws. He names his dogs after Jaws characters and shit. Like, he's a Jaws number one fan.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah,
so
not
like,
crazy, but
like having him teach that class, I think also is like you're gonna get a lot of Jaws tidbits from there, and I think that just opened my eyes of like, wow, this is actually like a crazy movie. And it's nuts too, and I'll talk about it in a minute, but it's like the amount of like odds that were stacked against this fucking thing is what's crazy too. It's like to get a movie at this quality when so many things had gone wrong and like it wasn't even pretty much supposed to get finished and made is like another like icing on the cake of like, that's how fucking good this thing is like, even under all the things that it was supposed to fail, it just look what it did. So
it's so interesting that that's something you use when I know how you feel about the Snyder Cut.
What do you mean?
There's so many things against the Snyder Cut coming out.
Yeah, but that's the difference between taking multiple years and putting more money into something to make something come out again that's already been out versus persevering and pushing or whatever to get the movie to actually just come out on an actual release.
Okay.
Now, if Justice League was pushed for 2 years and then the Snyder Cut came out and Justice League never came out, totally different argument. But that's not what happened. They released a shitty fucking movie, waited 10 fucking years, and put out another shitty, or not shitty movie, but spent X amount of $1 million.
Yeah.
Like, that's not even the same
I got you.
thing. I see what you tried to do there.
I understand it now. But so when Batgirl comes out in a few years, that we say the odds were against it.
Yeah, maybe.
Or the Flash.
That's what some people are praying and hoping for right now.
I don't think it's gonna.
What do you got? Do you have anything?
So my first impression, I saw this movie when I was, I think, 22.
Okay.
Maybe 23. And I remember thinking just like, it was an all right movie. I didn't really care for it. I can't tell if it was just my mindset of how I felt towards 70s movies back then or what I was feeling.
Because it's definitely really 70s. Like it's...
Yeah,
the story,
70s,
the plot, like it's before writing and everything really took that leap of what you expect in certain movies nowadays. Like you have to be able to peel that like layer back, which again, I feel like as you get older, you can do that. As you watch more movies, you start to realize like, oh, this is just how they were making movies in the 80s, you know,
and
like,
I
70s, whatever it may be.
And I didn't get a chance to really, I mean, obviously I have tons of chances to talk to the girls, but both girls watched it with Sam and I and our other friends while we watched this movie. And Zosha watched the entire thing, start to finish. She I don't know if she was into it, but if she just watches it to watch it. But they both got the jump scare.
Yeah, that it still gets me every time. I know it's coming and it gets you. It's just like
they both got the jump scare, and Sam got the jump scare on our second watch, and it was a good time. But I have some information just about the cinematographer as well as the music. The cinematographer's name is Bill Butler. He's behind Grease, Rocky 2, 3, and 4. He did Child's Play, Beethoven 2, and Frailty. I think out of the bunch, I think Frailty is probably one of the better ones where I could actually see some techniques used. And I'm sure you have an argument for this movie that the techniques of cinematography might be better than his other ones. I know that there's a lot to fool, especially considering Steven Spielberg filmed this on a boat at sea. Like he didn't do it on a fucking set. It was all
a lot of it
on site. So it must have been hard for a cinematographer to work with that shit. And then music was done by John Williams. And honestly, there's just one or two songs in this movie that really stick out. And it's the main Jaws theme and then their triumph scene or their triumph music when they are celebrating. And that's kind of it. I'm sure there's some ominous tones.
And that is it. And it's funny you say that because when Williams showed him the main Jaws theme, and it's just the EF key. It's all he's doing. It's just the EF notes. And Spielberg thought he was joking to him. He was like, "You serious?" And John Williams was like, "This is it. Trust me." And it may not be the best theme song of all time, but is there a more iconic theme song?
No.
You know what I mean? Like, even if you've never seen Jaws, you get in a pool and everyone's like, dun, dun. You know what I mean? It's just, it's one of those that is just like in our culture now. Yeah. And you don't even have to know where it's really from, but people know that like the dun-dun-dun-dun is associated with sharks. It's crazy.
It really is. And it's like, in reality, most of the time, some of the best themes have been 2, 3, Simple. 4 notes. I mean, if you look at, our last movie that we talked about, Signs, it's just dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. And then you got something like Halloween, the dun-dun-dun-dun-dun,
one of the
John Carpenter's
famous.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just 3 notes. So, I mean...
And the way they use this theme song in the movie is extremely important. Anytime you hear the ominous tones, it's the start of the tension building and the start of the ramping up. So it's a cue, it's a sound cue throughout the movie. So they use it in such a good way that it gets ingrained in you where as soon as... They do it enough times where as soon as you hear the beat, you're like, your heart starts automatically racing because you're like, oh shit, we know that something bad is probably going to happen.
I mean, you're watching this movie and, for reasons technically, they don't show the shark, Instead of having the visual cue of seeing a fucking shark, you have the audio cue. Correct. Of, okay, some shit's about to go down right
and
now.
It's wonderful. That's what's wonderful about this movie too. It's Steven Spielberg showing you a master class of how to build tension in a movie without shoving a monster down your throat to scare you with like visceral images of like the actual monster. Like and we'll get to when the shark actually appears in the movie, and I have the exact timestamp of when it shows up. It's kind of incredible to create a movie and realize the roller coaster of like anxiety you've already gone through. Not saying it's the most terrifying thing of all time, but you get in this roller coaster realizing like, holy shit, I haven't even seen the shark and we're halfway through this goddamn movie. Yeah. And that's like the beauty of like
damn, you have to know your storytelling, my dude, to be able to pull that off.
It's cool that we covered Signs and then this and back to back, because they really share that quality.
You can see a lot, and there's a lot of little details that I'll hit on through this, like Signs, where you go back and you watch and you're like, oh, I see what they're doing there. I see what they're pointing to here, here, and here. Like, it's full of them. So yeah, it's a very good comparison.
I'm looking forward to talking about it with you, because I know that I'm not going to have any of the background information that you're going to have.
Yeah, a lot of stupid like little tidbits and things like that.
And that's cool, because if you could make me like it a little bit more,
yep,
might get it a little bit better for me. So.
And starting with, before we get into the breakdown, actually, I just have some general facts that are fun to know going into Jaws.
Spit it, man.
So, like I said, Spielberg was 26, which is just something to like think about if you're older than 26 specifically, to be like, damn. 26 doing this, crazy.
You crazy undertaking. Like, fuck me, what am I doing? If he's 26 doing this.
So I could be. This may not be exactly right, but I'm almost positive that Spielberg read a like short story called Jaws in a newspaper, and this guy had wrote it because he was trying to get publishing for like his book that he was writing. So he kind of wrote like a snippet or an excerpt or whatever they did back in the day to kind of get their book more noticed or whatever. And Spielberg read this and was like, oh shit, this is pretty good. Tracked down the dude and read his book, and then bought the rights to it before the book even got published. So that way he had it locked up, because he was like, I want to do this movie. Because when he read the script, he have you ever seen Duel? It's one of Steven Spielberg's first movie. It's basically about like a truck that's almost possessed. You never see the driver the whole movie. It's just
sounds familiar.
It's just this like big 18-wheeler looking like Mad Max truck. It becomes this like monster. It's not like a killer driving the truck. It's almost like this truck is this thing.
Yeah.
It's another incredible like simple movie that Spielberg just makes. Yeah. But he read this and was like, "Oh, this is Duel with a shark." Basically, and was like, "I can do this," because he had just been coming off Duel. And he also realized, I can use a lot of Hitchcock techniques to build tension and all this crazy shit without having to show the shark 24/7. So in a way, I can like save money by using old school like Hitchcock techniques of like tension building and camera shots and things like that, which Hitchcock was the master of.
Okay.
So that was his whole kind of inspiration to like how he knew I can do this, no big deal. The studio agreed to give him $4 million for it, and he had his shooting schedule was 58 days. That's how long it was supposed to be. Turned out to be $9 million and 158 days of filming. It was one of those things where everything that like could have gone wrong did go wrong. So it's like they almost pulled the plug multiple times. They were shooting a lot out at sea, but the thing they didn't account for was they wanted to make it feel like they were in a deserted sea and all that. So when they would film during the day, boats would be driving by, because people have normal fucking fisherman jobs and shit. So they'd have to halt production until these boats literally cleared the horizon for them to start again, because they could not have anything in the background, because they wanted them to be just isolated alone at sea.
Yeah.
So shit like that, weather, people getting fucking seasick and all of that stuff. They had to build special things to like be able to shoot on the boat all the time and all that. Just a lot of fucking obstacles, which tripled their shoot schedule, you know?
Okay.
Which is just, no studio wants that.
No,
and then doubled their budget.
Especially when you're putting your faith in a fucking 26-year-old as well. Yeah.
Correct. So it was, Steven Spielberg was very kind of nervous about everything. It released, and 38 days later, it was the first movie to ever make $100 million, which was the biggest movie maker of all time at that point. Only took 38 days, and it stayed as the biggest movie maker until the release of Star Wars in 77. Wow, so for 2 years, it just was king. The shark, do you know the name of the shark?
I do know the name of the shark. So it's Bruce.
Yes.
And that's why Finding Nemo
did
it as well, because Bruce is a great white. It's
called Bruce. Bruce was named after Spielberg's lawyer.
Oh, wow.
So I guess his lawyer was Bruce, and, you know, it's his money guy, his lawyer and all that. So,
none of my notes refer to him as Bruce, because after I wrote the notes, I learned that his name was Bruce. Yeah, so I was like, oh, fuck. I'm not going to go back.
It's something that they would use on set, like, so when they refer to the, like, mechanical shark and all that, they'd be like, go get Bruce in the water or whatever it was.
Nice.
So that's a little fun one. Nominated for Best Music, Editing, Picture, and Sound. It won music, sound, and editing, it lost Best Picture to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So it kind of cleaned up at the Oscars. Ironically, the writers and Spielberg were not nominated for it, which is what everyone was like, damn.
Okay.
But it cleaned up, and in 2001, it was put into the Library of Congress for being culturally significant, which is, I think, probably one of the highest achievements you can get as a film nowadays, is to be retired into the Library of Congress.
Nice.
Because it's just like being put in the actual vault of like, this movie exists. If anything happens to our culture and people find it, like, this is what's there.
Oh, okay, that's what that is.
Yeah.
Wow,
So like,
okay.
like Gone with the Wind. Like, if it's a significantly cultural relevant movie, it doesn't mean it's like the history of the U.S., but something that like changed cinema or did this or that.
Man, I wonder what the most recent picture is.
Yeah.
Fuck, we need
So, so 2001 it went in. So I mean, it took 40 years.
Yeah.
To get in that. Just helps you appreciate the movie a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you know all that going in, little tidbits.
Absolutely. So this movie starts with credits, and you get underwater. You're getting the POV of a shark.
Yep.
And we also get some credits over these teenagers who are at a beach, and they're at a campfire. They had a campfire going.
It's like your classic like beach high school party. Kids
Yeah.
are drinking
Making
and
out
fucking
and shit,
all
yeah.
that kind of shit. Yep.
And this boy and girl, they eyeball each other from across the beach, and they're kind of like, "Hey, you want? Come on, let's go." And you just see them taking off for the beach, and she's just taking her clothes off.
They're about to go skinny dip it. Yeah, you know.
And the dude is drunk. He's running.
Yeah, he's drunk as fuck.
drinking while he's running,
Yeah.
and he passes out on the beach while she jumps into the water. And this is where we get the classic scene. I feel like if you haven't seen Jaws, you still know this.
You know
scene.
this. You know this scene because you know the poster. You've seen the image,
Yes,
and this is
absolutely.
where we never get the actual poster for scene in the actual movie, but this is the scene that the poster is surrounded by. It's kind of the infamous image.
Is it on there?
Of it
is here. It's on the book, too, yeah.
It's on fucking everything. So
This girl gets it. She gets
killed.
She gets killed by the shark. And it's an interesting scene because it's not very graphic as far as seeing like
this is the most
limbs lost or anything like that, but it's terrifying.
This is by far the most toned down shark kill in the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, as far as like
is.
graphic and like because it's dark out, so you don't see anything in the water. And it's just her getting dragged under and coming up and dragged under, and she's kind of getting dragged under while she's saying lines, which is kind of a cool effect, which makes it seem like scary.
That's what makes it so scary.
Correct.
Because she's like screaming, she's saying, and she yells, "It hurts."
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man. I'm like, fuck. I'm like,
Yeah.
this girl is getting it. And she dies. She goes under the water.
Yeah, and it's a good setup too, because it's kind of like, well, what the fuck's the boyfriend doing? They pan to the boyfriend as she's screaming, or boy, whoever,
Yeah.
and he's just fucking passed out drunk on the beach, and it's just a good way of like, there's no one knows what happened to this girl now. She just kind of the guy knows they were going swimming, he passed out, and that's where it starts. But we know she got. And we don't even know what really happened to her. We just know something took her underneath and killed her. It wasn't her just drowning on her own free will.
Yep. We jump to the next day. We are introduced to Chief Brody. And he wakes up and he's getting ready for work. You know, he's got his wife and his kid that are there. And he gets a call while they're all getting ready and eating breakfast, doing whatever, starting their daily routines. And he's just like, oh, okay, I'll be there soon.
This is important. It's one of those little details where his kids are going to play in the water, and there's not much second thought about it. Like, the one mom says, like, hey, just stay in before the jetty, and that's all that's said about the kids going to water. So it's the whole idea of, like, there's no second thought of there's danger actually out in these waters around this town. And then when he goes to leave, his wife tells him, hey, be careful, I want you back at dinner or whatever. And he goes, be careful in this town? And he does a little laugh. He gets in his car and drive away. So it's another thing, like signs of that setting, like, this is a small town where fucking nothing happens.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of Brody going to work and dealing with whatever kind of local bullshit is going on, like signs and the lady spitting on everything.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of bullshit of like, okay, I'm getting called into town. Let's go see what's up. Kids, fucking enjoy the water, stay safe, and like that's it. So it's like, okay,
See you
This is
later.
the baseline of like, there's no cares. This has never been a problem. There's no inkling or thoughts of something dangerous maybe being in these waters, which drastically changes within the next fucking like 15 minutes of this movie.
So he leaves her work and he drives past a billboard, and the billboard says the 50th annual Amity Regatta. And so Brody gets to the beach, and when he gets to the beach, it's the boy who passed out on the waters when the girl was dying. And he's talking to him, and he goes, you know, what do you mean? What do you mean you just passed out? You don't know where she went. Like he's not necessarily a suspect, but Brody's kind of skeptical about him. And we learn that Brody is from New York in this conversation. And while they're talking, they hear this loud whistle being blown. So they run over and they find this other cop, and this cop is just stunned. He's just freaked out. He picks up something off the ground and under the sand, and it is an arm. It is the arm of the girl. Yeah,
and it's gross. There's like crabs crawling all over it and shit. It's like one of those things where they don't show you a lot because it's just like her hand sticking out of the sand. So they don't show you some super graphic thing. But like the fucking crabs and everything crawling all over it just makes it very like jarring, where you're like, oh, this is gross. Like that's the girl.
Yep. And then they go to the sheriff's office is the next scene, and the boy is there. And at this point, time has passed, because the boy's been sitting there, but Brody is in his office, and he gets a call from a medical inspector. And the medical, so you would assume that it took time for this guy to
do it, like an autopsy.
An autopsy of some type on just this arm. And it comes back and it says that the girl or the arm came from a shark attack. So he kind of gets in a frenzy, and he leaves really fast. And he's like, where are those signs at? And nobody really responds to him. So he goes into the main street of the town, and he finds a hardware store, and he starts grabbing all this art supply, like paint.
Yeah, and that's another little
like
great clue is he asked where are the beaches closed signs, and they said we don't have any, because the beach is how this town makes its money. So it's like they don't ever close the fucking beach down, because it's like being on Mackinac Island in Michigan.
Well, he's new to this job, right?
He's new to the area. That's why they're skeptical of him. Like in the beginning, anytime anyone talks to him, he's not an islander. He's from New York, and he's only been there probably. This is his first 4th of July.
He's a townie.
That's what they say.
He's a townie.
Correct. So like he's been there less than a year, where he hasn't experienced their biggest weekend of the year yet.
Okay.
So yeah. So the thought of closing the beaches is just something that's never crossed these people's minds. So he's like, fuck, dude, well, we got to make some beaches closed sign, because there's some shit going on here.
Okay, I like that. That's something I was like, what the fuck? What is this so important? Why can't he find the signs?
Yeah, because they've never closed, because that's their fucking moneymakers, the beach, especially that weekend, because it's on their fucking home sign, where it's like, welcome to Mokina, home of, whatever. This is like, welcome to Amityville, or this is welcome to Amity, home of the best 4th of July weekend in the world. It's like, oh shit.
Our annual regatta.
Yeah, and there's 4th of July shit everywhere, so the 4th of July is like
their big deal. That's their thing.
Yep.
So this deputy pulls up to the hardware store as Brody's leaving, and he's like, hey, just so you know, some Boy Scouts are doing a mile swim, and you better get down there. He goes, the fuck you talking about? Here, you make the signs. I'm gonna go down there. So he takes the deputy's Jeep, and he starts heading out. And at that point, the mayor does walk out into the main street for a moment. He's like, oh, Brody, wait. And you think, okay, that's it. That's up with the mayor. Yeah. But the mayor follows Brody to the beach
with his like car of goon politicians, dude. Like just all the crazy scumbags in one car.
It's his entourage.
Oh, they're just the worst people.
It's so funny because he's wearing this fucking suit, and he's got these extravagant, crazy suits that look like fucking patio furniture.
Yeah, like, he looks like a game show host.
Yeah,
like an old 70s like Bob Barker.
He's got like anchors and shit like that.
He's a fucking clown and he's got like the Elvis hairdo. Like his hair's all nice. Like he's just that mayor.
If it wasn't in this movie, he'd be a fucking badass mayor. He'd be awesome.
Yeah, true. He just makes every wrong move in this movie.
Yes, he does. So he's kind of nicely pissed off at Brody.
Yeah.
And because they're on this like ferry that's going across this body of water. Not exactly sure how this works, but
the ferry pulls up and Brody gets on because he says, "Bring me out to the kids," because his idea is I'm going to get all the kids on this thing. The mayor, it gets him and the mayor isolated in an area to have a conversation.
Yes, Brody can't go anywhere, and neither can the mayor. So the mayor uses this to his advantage, and he tells Brody, he's like, you can't shut down the beaches, man. This town, this island relies on the business of people coming in for 4th of July.
And he also hits him in that line with the, you're not a local, so you don't understand.
Yes.
And that's when you're like, oh, okay, Brody's the new cop.
Yeah, new guy on the block.
Yep.
The mayor, one of the guys that he brings, Tyler had mentioned his goons that he brings, is the medical examiner who did the examination on the fucking arm
that called
hours
Brody.
ago.
And it's not just an arm; it's full body. It's not a full body. You only see the arm, but Hooper goes over exactly what you see of the girl. It's basically
it's just true.
It's her torso, but the arm is what they actually ever show you.
So the mayor's guy, the examiner, comes in and he goes, you know what? I made a mistake. It wasn't
a boat accident.
Yeah, it was a boat accident. So you don't have to worry about putting up these signs and drawing a frenzy out of everything. So I would assume that the mayor paid the dude off. He was like, hey,
"Oh
man,
yeah," and that's exactly what you get. Because then the mayor ends the conversation with Brody, which is a hard line, but he says, "You yell Barracuda," and everyone says, "What?" You yell Shark, and now we have a panic on our hands on the 4th of July. Yeah. And it's that whole idea of like, you can't be making these kind of crazy claims if you don't know, but it's like the irony is like Brody is right the entire fucking time. He's like, dude, there's a man-eating shark out there. We need to handle this. And the mayor just doesn't want to believe it because he's trying to get his town going.
Yes.
It's a scumbag move, but he's also, looking out for all the citizens of his town and all that shit. He
wants everybody to have a good summer, man.
Correct. So it's a mess where like, okay, Brody's not going to get any support from the mayor or anything with shutting these beaches down because they're not bought in on it happening.
Yes. So we cut I'm going to assume it's a few hours later, maybe not even a few hours, maybe an hour later, but it's at the beach and there's tons of people swimming and there's people all over. Brody's there. And he's kind of just sitting there watching everything. He's being very
amazing tension building because there's no music, but it's just like focus shots.
I don't know about amazing.
It's great tension building, dude.
It almost seemed like a scary movie where like the parody movies where it's like everything he sees is not what he wants.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of psych outs.
Yeah, no, but like, it's just him having to take those seconds to look at every little thing of all the moving parts and being like, is that a problem? No. Is that a problem? No. Is that a problem? No. It's a lot of like building that tension for when things actually start happening.
I think it was one too many. I think it's 3 times that it happens. So this kid comes in.
Alex Kittner,
yes.
Which, fun fact about him, the mother that plays his mom, she in 1999 was in a sandwich shop, and Alex Kittner was on the menu as a sandwich. So she asked like, "Oh, I played his mom in the movie." And the manager of the sandwich shop was the child actor that played Alex Kittner.
I did hear about it. I don't know where I heard about it. I was like, it's hilarious. That is pretty cool. And so when they went, 30 years?
Yeah, that was the first time they've never seen each other.
Like, oh my gosh,
and then, so he runs a sandwich shop and has his character on the menu.
I'll see if I can find a picture of this to put over the video. But the kid comes in, Alex comes in, and he's like, oh, can I just go off for 10 more minutes? And mom was like, yeah, go ahead, which... It is crazy that this woman has a kid this young.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I was like, holy
she's pretty old.
Shit, I'm like, this lady's grandma for sure.
She's pretty old.
So Brody's sitting there, he's watching everybody, and these people are coming up to him, and they're talking to him, and the guy with the very distracting boobs comes and talks to him, and, some of the psych out, this girl screams as loud as she can, and this guy's just lifting her up, and there's a guy in a bathing cap that's swimming through the ocean. And we learn in this scene also that while Brody's talking to people, that he does not go in the water. That he just stays out of the water. He doesn't go there. And then we finally go to a new shot, and it is the shark POV again. So we know some shit's going down.
Yeah, and at that time, there's a dude on the beach who we had seen playing fetch with a dog. Mm-hmm. He starts like calling. You see him wandering around calling a name out, and you're like, where'd the dog go? And it's one of those things they kind of show like the bone in the water or whatever, and it's that first clue of like, dog's missing. People are still out here doing their thing, and then we start seeing the POV under the water where it's like, oh no.
Yep, someone's gonna get it.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate who gets it because it's Alex. Yep. Alex is the one that gets it. He's playing on his life raft. This is a graphic one.
This is a good one. This is like your
it's daytime, it's bright out, there's tons of people around.
And he's on a raft, so you see the raft getting like shredded, and the water's like frothing up, just blood like shooting everywhere. It's like, holy shit. Like he came up and just bit this kid.
I was worried for the girls to be watching this.
Yeah, and there's some parts.
They didn't care.
Yeah, no, well, kids today, man, they don't give a fuck. But like, you still don't see anything of the shark.
No,
and that's awesome. You see like one fin like do a flip kind of thing, and you just see all this mass fucking chaos, and it's like, oh my god, and it's very scary. Without
these people
having
are
to
running
see it.
out, they're fucking panicking. Everyone's.
And
Brody's yelling at everybody, "Get the fuck!"
Well, we get the famous
out of the water.
vertigo shot of, Brody, which again you can see how Spielberg drew inspiration from Hitchcock because Hitchcock created that, and it's the famous vertigo shots when the person stays in frame, but it seems like he's pulling out at the same time.
The size of the character, the size of your subject doesn't change the size, but your camera backs up while you're zooming in at the same exact time, so they stay in frame, or vice versa. If you're gonna move the camera towards your subject, you're gonna be zooming out, and it's really cool. It's a cool,
and it's a tricky thing to pull off and make look good. So
make it look
it's
good,
like one of those things where it's a shot that elicits a feeling in you of like anxiety. It just makes your brain go like, oh,
because his face sells it too.
Correct.
His face is like, oh fuck.
Yeah,
the one thing I didn't want to happen.
It's his worst fear is happening.
It's like I didn't want it to be right.
Correct.
Maybe there was that inkling in his head that said, you know what, maybe it was just a boat accident. Nope.
Correct.
This is the nail in the
kid
coffin.
just got shredded in front of the entire town.
And it's crazy because everybody gets out of the water and the mom just starts screaming. She's like, Alex, Alex, and Alex fucking bit the bullet.
Yeah.
So the next scene is at City Hall.
Yeah, the town meeting.
Yes, it's a town meeting. It's kind of chaotic. People are just screaming, not screaming like for their lives, but they're just like, they want answers.
Well, yeah, and
people want a statement.
We find out right away that Miss Kittner has put up a $3,000 bounty for the shark to be killed. So now the fishermen in the city are kind of in a panic. Not in a panic, but they're like, all right, everyone's revved up because $3,000 is a lot of fucking money. So all these people now are like talking about the bounty and they want to do this. And Brody saying like her putting out a bounty is the worst thing we could do right now because it's going to draw so much attention and so many people are going to go out there that aren't qualified to deal with this. And it's going to just be bad news. And everyone kind of brushes it around and the mayor's like, she's already gone to X, Y, and Z papers. Like there's nothing I can do to stop like Mrs. Kittner. Like it is what it is. So you just know like there's that. And then you hear all the townsfolk kind of like talking about like, are they going to close the beaches? Like what's going to happen to our businesses?
Because Brody does want to close the beaches.
Correct.
But, and everybody seems pissed about it. It's not just the mayor. It's not just the mayor. People are like, hold up.
The whole town is against him essentially.
Yeah.
And then the mayor tries to save face by really quickly being like, oh, well, it'll only be 24 hours. Don't worry about it. And Brody's like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? Like,
were you not there, motherfucker? Yeah.
He's like, dude, what do you mean 24 hours? We have a legit problem on our hands, dude. It's just all chaos. And then you get an amazing fucking Quint introduction, dude. The nails on the chalkboard.
It's the literal phrase, nails on a chalkboard, yeah.
And just him sitting there in a chair, like chewing on his crackers. Y'all know me. You know what I do best. Like just classic fucking fisherman / pirate.
You have your fucking work cut out for you, man. I do not like Quint's character at all. Dude, so you got to sell me. You have to sell me on Quint.
Fucking crazy, dude.
He's just. I find him annoying. I find him over the top. He's just.
I don't even.
You're at a loss of words.
That's the thing. Is like I don't even feel like I'm gonna sit here and try to argue and get you to like him.
No. Absolutely, you absolutely should.
If you can't see it, I can't help you, dude.
Quint. It's just Quint. Everybody else I'm cool with.
He's a great he's a great like stereotype archetype like fisherman crazy like pirate sea shanty type guy. Like your dude who goes and hunts your Moby Dick. No like classic like when you see these. He's your archetype. He's that not comical character, but he is supposed to be that character that's a little more.
I think that is the problem. Is that I found him as a comical character.
Well, he is.
I didn't take him serious. Like there's the one scene which we'll get to that I do take him seriously, but I text you like I don't understand what the fuck he's saying. I like literally that. Not just the phrases. I don't understand literally. I can't understand the words that he's saying out of his mouth.
He's just a crazy fisherman who just fishes alone and kills sharks. All he does is kill sharks. Yeah. That's his whole fucking source of purpose.
And that's what he says in this scene.
Yes, he basically tells him, "Look, if you want this shark caught, I can fucking do it. I'm the guy to do it.
You want the fin, you want the jaw,
You want the whole damn thing.
Yep. This is what it's going to cost.
It's going to cost you more than what you're offering, because like he's basically saying everyone on here who claims they can take this shark down is a bunch of frauds. Like, I'm the actual shark hunter.
Yeah.
If you want it done right, call me. If you don't, let it eat all the people you want it to eat, and your businesses are going to be closed anyway, and you'll be living off welfare. So he kind of puts it in the perspective of like, pony up the money now and let me deal with this, or you're going to have a bigger problem on your hands in a couple months. And it's like, damn, okay.
Yeah,
he's not just the crazy pirate. Like, he also is like talking business.
He doesn't want the 3 Gs. He wants 10
He
Gs.
wants 10, yeah.
It's the
10.
number he puts out there.
Correct.
So we jump to the next scene, and Brody's looking at this shark book. He's kind of he's taking it in, not interest, but he's got to know. He wants to know his opponent. He wants to know what he's going up against.
And this is a huge one of those signs type clue moments where all it shows, because it starts with looking at the book, and all it's focusing on is the idea that sharks react to erratic movement. And if you watch throughout the movie as we talk about things, pretty much every time this shark shows up, there's some kind of erratic movement that has started or loud noise that has started that now all of a sudden the shark is there.
Yeah, so his Brody's wife comes in and she puts the book away, and she's like, "You don't want to relax, you want to fool around," and he's just.
There's
like,
a lot of like good
it.
comedy moments in this movie too.
Yeah.
It's not just like down dread and scary sharks the whole time. There's a lot of jokes and levity within these people trying to deal with it, because they're all very like normal people, other than Quint, who's like the crazy fisherman guy. Brody's not Mr. Captain America cop. He's just a fucking sheriff of a little ass town who just like loves his kids and his wife. His kids are playing in the goddamn boat, and this is another really funny moment that I thought. And he's like, get the fuck out of the boat. And his wife's like, you need to chill. Like, I understand what happened, but they're on the dock.
Yeah, it's his birthday present.
Let's
Let him
not
enjoy
fucking
it.
scar him. And she opens the shark book that she took away from Brody, and the image is a shark biting a boat. And she instantly is like, didn't you hear your father? Get your ass out of the boat. And it's just like moments like that is like, it's really funny where like.
That was a good one. I did like that one. We jumped to nighttime, and there's these two guys. They're attempting to catch this shark using a fucking roast and a hook.
And tying it to a dock.
They're basically fishing for this giant shark. I mean, we really don't know it's giant. I say giant because I've seen the end of the movie.
Correct.
But they're using a fucking
It's the most
roast
bootleg, like they don't even have a boat type fisherman. They're going to a dock, casting a big hunk of meat and tying it to the dock and hoping something fucking happens. Like, this is what Brody was like, hey, we shouldn't be promoting catching this shark because people who don't know what they're doing is going to go try to get involved in this.
Yes. So the fishers do get a bite, and
I would say
they get a fucking big bite because Jaws, Bruce, however you want to refer to this shark, pulls the fucking
takes
dock
the fucking
apart.
dock with him.
Yes.
Which awesome, because now we still haven't seen the shark at this point.
No, but
now we can watch the dock just floating and moving in the water, and A, this thing's huge because it just tore the dock off, and B, we know exactly where this thing is at because we can see the dock
the visual
now
cue of it,
in the water, which is just another like very creative way to avoid showing the shark, but still being like, this is where the shark's at. This is very scary.
Yes.
Because when the dock gets pulled apart, naturally, one of the fishermen falls in the water.
Well, he's still attached to the dock.
Yeah.
and he fucking freaks out, and he's like, oh my God. So his buddy's like, come on, start swimming back. Don't look back.
And the dock is going away and just stops and turns and then starts going towards the guy. And it's like, oh no.
It's an intense moment, yeah.
It's very tension building.
So Jaws starts pulling the dock back to it, but the fisherman does get back. Yep. He gets back safely.
Full-blown Jaws music too, so we think bad things are happening.
And we jump to the next day. Brody shows up to the dock. It's a different dock. It's not that same dock, but he shows up.
No, it's like the main harbor.
Yeah, that's a better word, harbor. And there's a bunch of people, tons of fucking people.
Everybody.
They're heading out on their boats. They're going out to get the fucking shark.
Yeah, it's not, and that's that was the problem with this. It's not just attracting like fishermen. It's attracting anybody with a boat that's like, oh, I can go kill a shark for $3,000.
$3,000?
And like,
Fuck
that's
yeah,
the worst idea. A hilarious moment. We see a dude walk by Brody with dynamite, and Brody's like, "What the fuck are you doing with that?" And the guy's like, and you can tell he's like not a fisherman. He's just a local. He's like going to catch the shark, and Brody just snatches the dynamite. And he's like, "No, you're not, dude. Like, we got to go have a talk." It's it shows you just how many, and there's like 10 people getting on this small ass boat, and Brody's like, dude, you're going to sink this fucking thing. You can't be overloading. Like, it's just pure chaos of fishermen showing up to go catch a shark.
At the same time of all these fishermen showing up, this is where we get introduced to Hooper.
Yep.
And Hooper, I'm sorry I didn't have the name for Chief Brody, but this is Richard Dreyfuss. And I think I went
Chief
15.
Brody's Roy Schneider.
Okay. So I went 15 or 20 minutes. I'm like, is that fucking Richard Dreyfuss?
Yeah.
Because even though I'd seen this, 10 years ago, at this point, I was like, it's almost like the movie was brand new to me again. So I was like, that's fucking Richard Dreyfuss. This is crazy. Wow.
And he's great in this movie.
He's fantastic.
Richard Dreyfuss has like the great ability where he picks characters that just he plays so well. All the movies that he's in, he just seems to really fit all of his characters to a T.
Dude was a chameleon, because I couldn't tell it was him in this movie for sure. But I mean,
who was recommended by Lucas to Spielberg for this movie because he worked with him on American Graffiti.
I've never seen American Graffiti.
It's not that good. Well, I mean, some people love it, but it's just a boring movie to me.
Okay.
It's just about cars in the 60s, and it's kind of like a high school movie. But again, it's like high school in the 60s, so it's like I grew up in the Superbad era.
Was that Lucas's first film?
That was his like big first, his actual
first big one.
studio gave him money to do stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's what put him on the map was American Graffiti.
I've been wanting to watch it.
Again, it's a movie that's like critically acclaimed and like a lot of older people love it and say it's awesome. But for me, it's like I grew up in the Superbad era, so like those high school movies ring to me. You go back and watch American Graffiti, it's like they're fucking like swing dancing and like, hey, let's race our hot rods to see who's the cool guy. It's just like, it's also where George Lucas met Harrison Ford.
Yes.
But yeah, that's where he got recommended.
Hooper shows up, and we get our next scene, which is the same scene. It's the same setting, but Brody's talking on the phone. He's in this shed, and he's just yelling at everyone, like, shut this shit down. Go stop those people from going out in their boats. And
he's trying to do damage control.
Yes, he's trying to. He's on the phone right now with people at the borders, and he's like, stop letting the people in. Like, we're trying to get this shit under control over here. And Hooper introduces himself, and I can't remember exactly what his occupation is.
He's like a marine biologist type guy where he's specifically, though, he studies like sharks. He's like a shark scientist.
You wanted to be a marine biologist. What would be your study?
I did like sharks. I've always liked sharks as a kid, even before the Jaws kick. But I like deep sea creatures. Okay. Like the ugly, like anglerfish and shit like that. Okay. Like I get intrigued by things that we have not really discovered or had much.
So you want to get into the Mariana Trench shit and try to go.
Yeah, but like, see, and that's where I'd fall apart as a marine biologist because, like, I don't like touching fish. It's just a thing in my brain.
I fucking hate touching
where
too, dude.
I just.
Whenever I fish,
my fisherman uncle calls me a pussy all the time, but I can't. It's just something in my brain that the fucking sensation of a fish freaks me the fuck out.
I don't like when they put their fins out and it fucking stabs me. I'm like,
that's not fun for anybody.
I'm trying to help you get the hook out.
That's not fun for anybody, but I'm not a big fish guy, so that's where it'd fall. And I would never get in a little pod and be like, hey, we're going to go to the bottom of the ocean today.
Ooh, I'd fucking do it.
I don't think I'd do that, but like I'd like to study that shit. Those are the fish I'd like to study, the crazy creepy fish. But I don't think
you'd want to take like a game remote and use
like a drone, bro. Give me the VR set and I'll go down there. But like, no, I don't need to be fucking hanging out with those things. I've seen too many of these movies.
After Hooper introduces himself, they kind of show us a new scene, and it's again kind of the same scene, but it's all these people going out into their boats and they're fucking pouring buckets of blood and shit into the ocean.
It's like 13 boats all within 10 feet of each other.
Yeah, like
they're all following each other.
If somebody was like, "Hey, throw me that fish,"
it's crazy.
Something they could literally.
You got a boat with dudes and their dogs hanging out on it, like they're just dumping blood and all this shit in the water, which is just like the worst idea that you could have.
Yes. Hooper tells Brody that he wants to go look at the arm, so they go to look at the arm, and like you had said, which I didn't catch this, but apparently there's a whole torso.
It's basically she's kind of bit in half from the torso up. So her like legs and shit are missing because he starts naming the body parts, and all of her like insides have been eaten. Okay. So like it's just an open hole missing.
Man, I wonder if that was a different cut. I feel like I didn't see that.
But they don't show you ever. It's him. Okay. When he exactly, it's another one of those things. Spielberg, you don't have time to show all this.
I did read that there are different cuts.
And this fucking movie came out as like PG-13 or PG back in the day. This didn't come out as R. So it's like he had.
Is it rated R?
No. I don't think it's rated R now. But still, so he had to be somewhat smart with what you're showing. So it's just Hooper.
It's still PG.
Okay. Well, damn. Wow. Good for them. it got grandfathered in. That's why, like, fuck it, we're not changing it.
It's like 16 Candles where you still see titties in the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah, and
Like,
it's
why
cool
is this PG?
because it's the 80s, dude. Who titties were everywhere. It's just like fucking the 70s. We show some blood. Who gives a shit? But yeah, it's him reporting. He's got like he's recording for his journal basically because he's a scientist.
Yes.
So he's like going over all the injuries to her.
He's got like a headset on, video.
Yeah, he's like
not video, audio
recording himself talking.
Doing a podcast.
And that's how you know that there is more to the body. But the only thing he ever physically holds up and that we've seen up to that point, he actually holds up the arm that's just a fucking arm bitten off. And like within seconds of seeing this girl, he's like sick to show you like, damn, this girl's like completely mauled. And B, he's just like turns and he's like, boat accident my fucking ass, dude.
He's like
this is
boat
a
accident?
shark, 1,000,000%.
He knows right away.
And not is it just a shark, it's a big fucking shark because of the bite radius.
So he does ask Brody, he's like, did you tell the Coast Guard about this? And he's like, no, you know, we can't really tell the Coast Guard. It's local jurisdiction. And I believe Brody gets a phone call because the next scene is all the fishers come back to the harbor and they're fucking stoked. Everyone's celebrating, high-fiving, dick bumping each other just like the Cubs were. Like, hell yeah, we did it, man. We got the shark. And Brody's even kind of like, he's kind of happy. He's like, relieved. Oh my gosh. He's got the the relief about it. And Hooper is right behind Brody, and
he's got a look of like, I'm not sold on this because they have a decent sized shark hanging. Fun fact about that shark, that's a real dead shark. Oh. And by the time they were done filming, because we know how long it took to film this thing, they shot this scene over like a week or two of them on the dock. The shark was completely like rotten and smelling by that point because they just had this dead shark hanging out of water. It's a real
I'm
dead
surprised
shark.
They were able to do that with like animal rights.
Well, they didn't kill a shark for it. They probably got a dead.
Oh,
like that would go get cut up in like meat or something. They got. I'm sure they didn't go fucking shoot. Like Spielberg wasn't like, I want that one, like a lobster before Red Lobster, dude.
It's this fucking gorilla.
But yeah, but so if you rewatch the town scene when they're all gathered there, you'll see people in the very back covering their mouth because the smell was so bad. People were getting sick and shit on set, which is funny because the last line that the mayor says is like, "Cut this shark down before it stinks up our whole town," or whatever like that. Yeah. But that was a real shark that like made people sick because just by the time in the hot summers, we all know how fish smell, you know. So
yeah, Brody's stoked and Hooper takes out a measuring tape and he actually starts measuring
the jaw
size of this fucking shark. And he's not convinced. He's like, this isn't it. And there's like newspaper there, and they're like, "Can we get a picture?" And
it's funny because all the fishermen that caught the shark are arguing over what kind of shark it is, and right away Hooper's like, "It's tiger shark," because he's obviously the shark master, and they're all like, "Oh, what?" Like they've never even heard of a tiger shark, and there's supposed to be these, you know, it's just showing
Sam
you.
laughed out loud at that part because the guy's like, "Oh, what?"
Yeah, it is.
It was hilarious.
It's hilarious.
But Hooper's like, this isn't the shark. This is not the shark we're looking for. And the mayor isn't happy because he's like,
no.
He could hear what they're talking about. He's like, what the fuck you mean this isn't the shark? You know, I just want to tell people that it's safe to go back in the water, and you guys are going to fuck all this up.
Yep.
And Hooper does bring up the idea. He's like, well, you know.
Great idea.
He goes, the digestive tracts of these sharks, they're not very fast. So if we cut up on this shark right now, we should be able to see the remains of Alex Kitchener.
Yep.
And we should be able to see this
closed,
shit. So
closed story, kind of.
If you want to solve this right now, but the mayor doesn't want to do it. Yeah. Not because he doesn't want to do it because of stink up shit, because he doesn't want to be proven wrong.
No, but he has the absolute best excuse of not doing it right there, because he says like, we're not gonna cut a shark out, and then he kind of Hooper gives him that look of like, yeah, because you don't believe it, and he goes, the last thing I want to see is you cut that thing open and the Kittner boy fall out on this dock in front of everyone. And it's that idea of like a good excuse. Yes. I will give that. The mayor's a scumbag this entire movie, but that is a great excuse as to maybe why we should wait to cut this shark open, because it's broad daylight. There's people everywhere.
Newspapers and
shit. If that kid is inside, no one wants to see a little like 9-year-old's body come out of a shark's belly. But this is the build of like, you can tell the mayor has kind of discredits Hooper. He knows Hooper's this fancy scientist, so to say, and he kind of like looks down on him in a way. Like anyone who's not an Islander in this movie, they look down on. You can start seeing.
It's like being in Boston.
whatever. Yeah.
Or at least in the movie The Town, where they're like, the townies.
Yeah, the townies and shit like that. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, you can get that kind of feel that, like, Hooper's like, yo, we can do this. The mayor's like, we cannot do this here and now. Plus, we probably got the shark. It'll be all right.
Yeah.
And as they're arguing, fucking, that's when Miss Kittner walks
Yes.
up. And, like, everyone just shuts the fuck up.
She asked Brody, she's like, are you Chief Brody? And he's like, yeah. And she just slaps
the shit out of him, dude.
And, she's upset. She voices that, you knew that
she just found out.
Yeah, you knew a girl died here and you still let these fucking
You didn't close the
stay
beach.
open.
Yep.
Which is funny because the mayor's standing right behind him the entire time and just lets this shit happen. It's like, you son of a bitch.
And exactly, and that's the thing, is like that's what's great about this movie, is like it's not just them versus the shark. That's literally what the movie's about, but it's also like Brody's versus the whole town. He's versus the mayor not believing him. Like all the obstacles to that Brody's making all the choices you yell at a fucking horror movie when you're like, go down the hallway. Why would you do that? He's doing all that, but then the mayor's coming in and being like, no, can't do that. And he's like, what the fuck do you mean? He's like, we need to call the Ghost Guard and get dudes with rifles out around the perimeter. Well, and he's no, can't do that. It's like, bro, I'm trying here. And that's the thing, is Brody is trying everything to prevent this and take the right steps, but he's getting fucked.
If he didn't do anything, the mayor would blame him for it.
Correct,
So,
because
he's...
And that was the whole thing, was when they reversed the coroner's calling on what the death actually was, he couldn't run with it was a shark attack anymore, because now it was a miscellaneous like boat accident. So like the whole idea of her dying by a shark got thrown or swept under the rug, kind of.
So the next scene is Brody at home and he's eating dinner and his son is mimicking him. And I've heard some things that people really like this scene. And for me, the scene I thought was kind of dumb. So
this is my thing with the scene. And it wasn't until I always kind of was like, the scene doesn't really do it for me. But this time I watched it, I was like, I understand this completely. It's just her the last thing Kittner says is like, you knew about the shark, but my son's dead and is not coming back, and there's nothing you can do to change that. And now the next scene is Brody sitting at home with his kid, and he's just having kind of like, well, I'm not a dad, so I can't have these. But I have to imagine there's parent moments where you like kind of look at your kid and you're like, damn, this is my kid. Like, I love this kid.
Yeah.
And he's having one of those, and the kid starts doing just like the weird faces thing. So Brody's doing it back and playing with him, and then he's like, hey, give me a kiss. Like, trying, because obviously
he says, like, I need a kiss or something.
Like, some shit like that.
I need this.
Yeah, well, the kid goes like, why? And he's like, I need it. And then he kisses him on the cheek, and it's that moment of like, okay. So obviously he's thinking of like, damn, that could be my kids. Now that a kid has been hit, that could be my kids, and he's kind of just savoring that moment. Again, it's kind of a weird scene, I agree. But I think that's just the whole thing, is it's really driving home of like, now he's kind of seeing this situation different, because it's not an adult who got killed.
Yeah.
It's some random kid where his kids are also swimming at the same place. Like, it could happen to anyone now. And like, the situation, the stakes have kind of changed a little bit in a way.
While Brody's eating dinner and his son leaves because Hooper shows up. And he's wearing a fucking suit. Like, I don't know why
two bottles of wine.
I don't know why he packed a suit to come to fucking Amity, whatever, but
he's a scientist.
Yeah, so he's got a suit, he's got 2 bottles of wine. He brings red and white because he wasn't sure what they were gonna like. And it's funny because he sits down and he's like, is anyone eating this? And he just grabs fucking Brody's plate of food.
And Brody, by this point, is fucking drunk already.
Yeah,
like, before
Hoop
shows up, he's already been, like, drinking, had a long day after he got the shit slapped out of him. Hoop sits down and just looks and goes, so, how was your day? And they both start laughing. Yeah. And it's like, they know how Hoop and Brody have a fantastic chemistry right off the bat, as far as like liking each other character-wise. They both kind of believe in what they're doing.
They're the only 2 people at this point that
are trying to do something.
Of like, we're trying to do something good right now, and nobody's fucking listening to us. What do we do at this point? Mrs. Brody's at the table as well, and she's like, what are you guys talking about? They said on the news that they caught the shark. Obviously, we all know, and so did Brody and Hooper. They're like, no.
Yeah, Hooper's basically just doubling down, like, Brody, I know everyone's convincing themselves this is the shark, but there's just no way. Like, I've measured the mouth, and from the bites on the girl to the mouth that we caught, it's a way smaller shark. Like, the shark is still out there, and you're gonna have a fucking problem if you just ignore this.
The boot doesn't fit.
Correct.
So he makes a comment that he's leaving the next day because they haven't found what they're looking for, and he's pretty much just wasting his time if nothing's gonna happen. So they drink up, and
Brody fucking pours himself the glass. He gives those. That's another funny moment. There's a little
huge
moments.
A mega pint is what they just fucking say.
They're tiny moments in this movie that are like really genuinely funny, and it's just little stuff. And yeah, he gives his wife a little wine, and then pours himself instead of a glass, like a water glass full of wine. And it's just hilarious, dude.
But he says, yeah, let's have some wine, let's drink up, and
Let's go cut this thing
we
open.
can go cut this shark open.
Which another famous line from the movie, his wife's like, "Can you do that?" And he goes, "I can do whatever I want. I'm the chief of police." Yeah. Awesome line.
They finish up their drinks, they go to the dock, and they start cutting open this shark. Hooper starts pulling some shit out. He pulls some cans, like some beer cans, garbage, license plate.
So the license plate important because it's from Louisiana. So it's how Hooper is like, see, I told you, I know it's a rare shark, not from these waters. Like, it traveled up. So Spielberg chose the license plate because they have a shot of them shining a flashlight on the, like, they wanted you to see what the license plate says. The years on the license plate is when one of the most recent James Bond movie came out, and Spielberg loves James Bond and had been wanting to do a James Bond movie. It's also why the license plate has 007 on it. So it's just a little shout out Spielberg put in there for his. He loves James Bond, and at the time was trying to shoot a James Bond movie, and they just weren't letting him, which is why he went and did Indiana Jones, by the way. Ooh. But yeah. Go watch Light and Magic. You want to hear more about that fucking story?
Steven Spielberg James Bond movie. I don't know about that.
Yeah, dude, he Steven Spielberg doesn't miss. If he wanted to do something, he's gonna do it. But anyways, what's funny about that is he put that as in a shout out to another movie. That license plate has showed up in a lot of different shark movies now.
Oh, okay.
It's in Deep Blue Sea, the first shark that Thomas Jane gets the shit out of his mouth because he's got the license plate stuck in his mouth, and he rips it out. It's the same Louisiana license plate from Jaws.
Oh, nice.
And in the movie Shark Tale, there's because they have the car wash or whatever there, and in one of the license plates comes off and the fish is running around with it, and it's the license plate from Jaws.
Okay. Fair enough.
So yeah, it's just one of those things that's now if you do a shark movie, you throw that license plate in somewhere.
Man.
Yep.
That's so nuts. Mm-hmm. That's nuts that...
It's funny because it's a shout out to something else that's then taken and now used as a shout out to something else. It's it's so cool.
Well, the part that I find more interesting is that Steven Spielberg allows this to happen, but when we were talking about Independence Day, he had a problem with Jeff Goldblum was saying "must go faster," which was the same thing.
Nah,
it's paying homage to him.
Yeah.
So why?
Nah. I don't know. I think it's very different from seeing a visceral image versus using a line to try to It's the difference of that was a main plot thing coming down in the moment must go faster just like that. Whereas you're finding when a random fish in Shark Tale picks up a license plate real quick and it has the number on it, that's a completely different kind of
I think they're both innocent and fun. That's why I think that is.
See, but I disagree. I disagree fully on I would be pissed too if I was Spielberg because stealing the line that's something you just don't really do because it's not like a Matthew McConaughey all right where he just is a person that says that in every movie. They wrote that line, but regardless, it's in a lot of shit. And who knows? Spielberg may hate that they do this. I don't know.
So they do cut up, like we said, they cut up in the stomach and they pull out all the stuff, and there is no human body parts. So Brody says, we need to close the beach. And at the same time, this is when fucking Hooper decides...
Hooper's like, nah, bro, we need to go fishing.
This is a night feeder, and it's just about hungry. So they decided to bring out a boat, and Brody's still fucking drinking at this point, too. It's pretty funny. And
because we also know by now he doesn't like the water and everything. So
yes.
The last thing he wants to do is now go get on a goddamn boat in the middle of the night alone with this Hooper guy.
Yes.
To see what's going to happen out there. Going to look for a man-eating fucking animal.
So they make their way out to the sea or ocean, whatever the fuck this is, and they using all of Hooper's equipment, and he has this fish finder.
He's got all the bells and whistles.
Yes. He uses this fish finder, and they see this really big mass coming up, and he's like, what the hell would that be? He's like, it could just be a bunch of fish. Mm-hmm. And at this point, we're like, it's not a fucking fish.
And we also find out during this little thing that Brody left New York because New York was too dangerous. Mm-hmm. That's the whole reason he went. Obviously his wife was like, hey, we need to get, you need to find a town that doesn't have much crime and all that, because he starts listing the facts of gang violence and all these things that happen in New York daily, and you can't change the world in New York. And it's just super ironic because he's drunk, saying this to self, dude, I'd much rather be dealing with criminals than fucking out on a boat looking for a killer shark right now.
Yes.
So it's that whole irony of move to a small town where nothing happens, and now you're in much more danger than you ever would have been in New York.
They pull up to this boat, and it's abandoned. It's foggy night on the water, and Brody recognizes the boat. He's like, "Oh, it's this guy's boat." So they said, let's
local
fucking,
fisherman.
He's like, "Let's fucking hook it on and bring it in." And Hooper's like, "Nah, I want to fucking get a closer look first," which is the dumbest fucking
He wants
thing.
to check the hull. That's what he keeps asking, because he basically wants to go see if the hull has a shark damage in it.
I don't know how they know there's a hole in it without going underneath the water in general, though.
What do you mean?
They see that it's sunk.
Yeah, but
right?
he wants to see what type of hole it is. That's the whole point. Is he wants to see, is it like a boat crash or something, like that hit a rock or something, or is there like a shark bite? Like, did the shark do this? Which is what he finds when he goes underwater.
I understand that they have to they need this scene for certain reasons, but I'm like, just hook that motherfucker in and bring it in, then look at it. What are you doing getting in the goddamn water at nighttime,
part of the idea, though, is he's trying to find his feeding grounds, and he knows where he's in those feeding grounds. So if they can find the boat with the bite,
so
they
why
know the
get
spot.
in the fucking water, dude?
Because at this point,
stop it.
Hooper's the shark master, and he's not scared. At dinner, he talks about how he was like 9 years old and his boat got eaten by a shark with him in it, and that's when he fell in love with sharks. So, like, at this point, Hooper shows no fear of sharks.
Like, dude's fucking brass balls.
Yeah, he loves sharks. He's had experiences with them since he's kids. We'll learn later that he's got, scars and shit from sharks. So, like, he's the shark man, does not feel... He's like fucking Steve Irwin. Like, what are you doing getting in the water with crocodiles? Like, dude's not scared of them. And Hooper at this point is not scared of sharks.
Yeah, he gets his fucking wetsuit on and his flippers, and he jumps in the water.
Which the whole time Brody is very much like Matty is, where he's like, "What the fuck are you doing, bro? Like, what do you mean you're about to get in the water? Like, crazy?" He says it 2 or 3 times, like, "Hey man, let's just tow it in. Let's just tow it in." And Hooper's like, "No, dude, I gotta see what the fuck's down there."
So he goes down there and he finds the hole of the ship, and it's got a big chunk taken out of it.
Fucking chunk and a big tooth.
Yes, there's a big tooth right at the hole.
Stuck in the wood.
And he pops it out.
Like, bigger than his hand almost.
He's staring at it, and it's a gigantic. It just fits right in the palm of his hand.
It's a huge tooth.
And at that moment, inside the hole is where we get this fucking jump scare.
And I know it's coming every time, and it still gets me, and it's because of... It's an old school jump scare where they pair a jarring image that you're not expecting with a ridiculously loud sound. And that's what makes you jump. And they don't do it as much nowadays. They still do it, but it's just full on, like...
If you're going for cheap scares, this is a cheap scare.
Oh, 100%.
Because if it didn't have one or the other, it wouldn't work. Because they both work together so well, it is a good jump. It's effective. It's effective.
It's very effective because Hooper freaks the fuck out and he drops the tooth. Which that's the important kind of thing for the next scene is like you don't realize it in the moment, but Hooper fucking freaks the fuck out when he sees a head because we already have discovered Hooper's not afraid of sharks, but he can't handle dismembered bodies and stuff. Mm-hmm. Like he just from the corner scene, like he almost got sick. So seeing a head just fucking pop out would scare anyone. But so Hooper freaks out, drops the fucking tooth and swims back to the boat and is like, bro.
Yeah, this scare got down there. This scare got the girls, and then I got Sam in our watch a few days ago, and I laughed because I knew it was coming.
It's a good one.
It was funny. So the next day, Hooper and Brody explain to the mayor that they need to close the beach down.
Yeah, they're like pleading at this point. It's not it used to go from like, hey, we think this, and this. Now they're like, bro, we have a fucking problem on our hands.
They're like, it's a great white shark. Yeah. I have no doubt in my mind. And he's like, the mayor's just smug as fuck. Yeah, he's like, you got the tooth?
Because like,
you got the tooth? He asked him for the tooth. He's like, you got it? If you don't have a tooth, then who am I to say that you're fucking not lying right now? Just to shut down the beach.
This is where he also tells Hooper, you're doing this for National Geographic. This is what you were talking about earlier, and Hooper gets fucking pissed about this. You can tell Hooper really isn't just looking for clout. Like, he literally is like a scientist that's intrigued by this animal and also wants to stop it from fucking eating people.
He's more concerned with the safety of the fucking town than the mayor is.
Correct.
Yes. So the mayor, he reinforces again. He's like, these people depend on the summer.
Yeah, because it's I would say it's like the 3rd of July or some shit. It's like, it's 4th of July weekend now. Yes. It's here.
And Brody's like, if we continue to keep these people in the ocean, we are deciding that we are going to feed the shark. And
Hooper basically is like, there's two ways to get rid of a predator like this. It's going to either leave when it has nothing to eat, or you have to cut off its fucking food supply so it has nothing to eat.
Yes.
So pretty much you can let all these people get eaten and feed this fucking thing, or we trick it to think that it has no food left and then it leaves on its own to go find food, because that's what fucking predators do. And the mayor's...
It's funny.
Says, fuck you, dude.
Yeah, because in the middle of the conversation of them talking about this real
Hilarious.
shit, the mayor's like, this is what we need to be concerned about. He waves his hand to the fucking billboard, and he's like, the vandalism on this billboard.
And it's the billboard we saw in the beginning, which is like some chick in the water, like, come to Amityville, and instead now she's got these googly eyes, and there's a shark fin behind her, and it's like, Chief Brody, I want you to stop worrying about the shark and find the little bastards that painted this on the thing, and Brody gives him that look like, all right, I get that's a crime, but like, you're out of your goddamn mind if you think that this is about to be the priority of anything.
Yeah. Hooper calms down. He tries to get on the mayor's level. Like, maybe he's just not responding to me being erratic about this and trying to convince him. So he calms down for a moment. He explains to him, like, look, this thing just swims and eats and makes shark babies. So you really need to take us seriously. And the mayor's like, it's 4th of July weekend. We ain't shutting this shit down. You're not closing the beach. And this is the moment where we see a ferry boat come in, and it's got a ton of fucking people.
It's just and then there's another one that shows up right after it. And it's just like there's hundreds of people coming to this island now.
Yes.
Like it is a lot of people.
And Hooper decides, okay, I'm gonna stay. I'm not leaving today anymore. I gotta see this shit through.
Which is another hilarious phone call. Because Hooper tells us at dinner that his next job and why he's leaving Amity is that he's going to work on like this. If you've ever seen Deep Blue Sea, that's what he's going to work on. Mm-hmm. He's going to work on like a floating fortress that studies sea life and sharks and stuff. And he's on the phone with a guy and he's like, Doctor, I'm trying to tell you, why do I need to go there and see a great white shark when I'm working with one right here? And it's just like another one of those moments that's hilarious. Yeah. And one of the guys on the line, I don't know if it's Brody that's talking to or Hooper, but because you hear the other guys like talking back and arguing with him, one of them Spielberg. That was his cameo. He's not physically in the movie, but his voice is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we cut to the beach, and the beach is fucking full with people.
And like news cameras.
And this has got to be a few hours later from seeing people get off of the ferry boats. Which it's the same day.
The reporter that starts the whole beach scene kind of like off is the author of the book. That was his cameo.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Very cool.
Who also got kicked off the set later in the movie because he disagreed with Spielberg, some of the things Spielberg was changing. And Spielberg was kind of like, he doesn't understand we're not just making the book, like I'm making a movie here. Mm-hmm. And I know what the audience wants. And so like he eventually was like, all right, bro, you got to get off set. I can't do it anymore.
Nice. Way to go, fucking Spielberg.
Yep.
Yeah, we see that Brody's on patrol. Hooper is as well.
There's helicopters and like...
There's people fucking
pretty much
everywhere.
anyone that's like not trying to enjoy the 4th of July has been called, like if you have a boat and you have a gun, come hang out by the goddamn beach because we're just going to do like our own policing because we can't get like the Coast Guard here.
Yeah, they kind of set off perimeters of like the outskirts of the beach so that this all takes place at the beach, but nobody's in the water.
Yeah, no, the beach is packed, but not one person is in the water.
Which at this point it's like, why does the mayor fucking care? He's already got the money of these people here. They're already on the beach.
The mayor's just,
why do you got to force him in the goddamn water?
He's a scumbag and he's dumb, man. He's a clown to say the least. The mayor in this movie, and again, the guy that plays him, he does an amazing role of making you be like, this guy's a fucking prick.
Yes.
This guy's the worst mayor in the world.
Absolutely. There's movies where you watch these movies, like the only one that comes to mind right now is the movie The Mist. So Marcy Gay Harden's character, you hate her. But when you watch it, you're like, oh, she's doing an amazing job.
And
this is how the mayor is in this movie. Like,
he's not, you don't hate him because he's a bad character. No. You hate him because he's playing a bad character. Yes.
But the fucking actor, don't know his name, but fantastic job.
He looks like John Wayne.
He does. But the mayor's walking around. He's walking on the beach. He's wearing a new fucking annoying suit. And he's walking up to people. He walks to one of his friends. He's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Like a true big power kiss the ring king asshole. He like walks up to his one old ass friend who's listening to baseball, like with his wife and kids just chilling on the beach. He's like, hey, bro, get the fuck in the water. Like, he doesn't say that, but he essentially is just like, get the fuck in the water, dude. Yeah. And, like, the guy begrudgingly, like, takes his wife and they take their kids. And
they're scared.
Yeah,
They're scared getting in the water.
And they get in the water, but then as soon as they get in, it's like the green light's on where everyone's like, oh, one person's in, we're all going in the water.
Yes, everybody gets in the water.
It's one of those things, as an audience member, you start to get your anxiety start getting kicked up because it's like, you're like, we all know you should not be going in this water, man.
We know that
every time another person is going in the water, you're like, this is not going to be good.
Someone's getting it.
This is not going to be good.
So Brody sees his kid Michael getting into the water with his friends, and he's like, hey, Michael, do you mind going in the pond? And he's like, what? That's for the old ladies. And
it's obviously the area that's like connected to the sea, but like way more drilled out and secluded, where like it's not as crazy tides and shit like that. It's very shallow. I imagine.
So he's like, come on, just make your old man happy and just go into the pond, please. And he's like, okay. So Michael goes to the pond with his friends, and they take their boat over there.
Good looks, Brody. Like, at least if this mayor's not going to let you save everybody, at least be like, hey, son, I'm not going to fucking make you go sit in the house, but like, go where it's probably going to be safe, please, because this is not a good situation we're doing.
Which is a good thing and a bad thing, because Michael does listen to him.
True.
And on the main beach, you get all these people, and they're splashing, making noise, having fun.
Your stomach feels it. You're like, oh, everyone's having such a good time, but it's like every time they do something more and more crazy, it's like you're attracting this fucking shark.
Aside from like cutting their hands open and putting blood into the water,
they're doing everything they're not supposed to.
Yeah, it's like what the
loud
fuck
noises,
is going on?
everything. Yep.
So the mayor's being interviewed at this point on the news, and he's excited, and he's telling people, "We caught the shark," and
business is a booming.
Yeah, see, it's just so fucking crazy that he's doing this. And we see a lady who sees a large fin swimming, and everyone starts freaking out.
Full-blown panic mode.
Yeah, everyone's getting out of the fucking water.
And they start ringing like alarms and shit, and right away, Brody turns and is like, do not ring those alarms. Like, that's what's cool. Like, Brody is in the fucking mind space to be like, we need to get people out of the water, but we do not need to be creating more fucking noise and more anything to like send this thing into an absolute frenzy.
Yes.
Because they see a fin, the shark's here.
And people are trampling each other, getting out of the fucking water. There's chaos, which, sees fit that's what you're going to do. You're just going to get the fuck out of the water. We find out that some kids...
It's actually hilarious,
these patrol people in the boats and like Hooper, they get up on there, they got their fucking guns drawn on this fin, and a fucking kid's head pops out of the water, and it's a cardboard
just a fin. Yeah, which is like a prank probably some asshole kids would do in a shark scare. Absolutely. It's like one of those where it's like, yep, those two asshole kids in the town. Fun fact about one of those kids, I don't know which one because they don't really name them, but one of those kids is now the police chief of the town they filmed Jaws in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he just became it like last year. It was a big thing that was like, congrats to whatever his name is for being the police chief of Oak something, and that's like one of the Martha Vineyard town they filmed Jaws in. He's not the police chief of.
That's pretty cool.
It's hilarious.
While this is going down, they find out that it was just kids. Another girl starts yelling, and she goes,
yeah, because you see like,
and what she yells,
see the dorsal and the actual fin. You see like both fins, so you know like, oh, this isn't another joke. No, this is the real thing.
And what she yells sends shivers up your spine because she goes, "There's there's a shark, and it's going in the pond." And at this point, you're like, "Fucking Michael's in the pond."
Yep.
Holy
the safe area that this shark was not supposed to go to, and it's just another thing of like all these people freaking out.
Yeah,
the shark wasn't there. Jaws wasn't there.
No,
but all these people freaking out because of this prank leads you to believe again, like the shark is attracted to erratic movement and all these things. So now you've lured it in, and you're just dealing with a fucking super apex shark, where it's smart enough where it's going to the place where predators aren't supposed to go, the pond, and we know Michael's in the pond, and it's like, oh no.
Yep. So this fucking, I don't know why this guy's here. I know why this guy's here.
I know exactly why he's here.
Because he's the one that needs to be eaten.
Correct, because they didn't want to kill a bunch of fucking like 5-year-old kids again.
Yeah, but it's funny because he's like, hey, what are you kids doing over here?
Yeah, he's just like in a canoe.
He's just like in a fucking dinghy boat.
Yeah.
And you're like, this motherfucker's going to get eaten.
And he does.
Yes, he does get eaten, and it's not very graphic. It's not very bloody, but it's cool because you see the shot of underneath the water, and you just see the
shark.
You see the shark.
This is when the first time you see him. Yep. And it's not a full blown him popping out of the water like he does later. he comes up right to the surface of the water, so you see his whole face and everything, but he's still submerged swimming. The timestamp is 1 hour and 2 minutes and 37 seconds. That's the first time we see the shark. Like, the fact...
And this is like 2 hours and 6 minutes long, I think.
Yeah, so this is halfway through the movie. It's that amazing thing when you can look back and be like, there's not many movies that can get you this quote-unquote scared or involved in being scared of this thing without having seen the thing yet. You know what I mean? A lot of movies nowadays, they have to show you the bad guy in the trailer. They have to show you the gross face to get you bought in a little bit or scared so you're hooked.
Yeah.
The first time we're seeing this, we're 1 hour in, well into the movie, and you're already terrified before you even see that thing.
Yeah.
So it's just a really cool, like, this is when you know your pacing is fucking on point to, like, be able to do that and not rely on any of these things. And all your tricks have paid off because now we actually see this fucking thing, and it's just as scary as we thought it was going to be. Especially because Michael's involved, which is the main character's fucking son now. As soon as the dude in the canoe gets whacked, their boat overturns. So now you have all these kids in the water fucking
You're like,
freaking
oh,
the fuck
shit,
out.
is it going to come back for seconds?
Correct.
Yeah. We also get to see I believe it's a foot that falls into the water as well, like the bottom.
Yeah, dude.
You see his
the
foot.
canoe dude's leg just gets chopped off, and like it's just a bloody stump falling to the bottom of the water. And it's like, okay, so we're gonna get a little more graphic with all these kills now.
Michael does get out of the boat safely.
Yeah, all the kids do.
And Brody takes him out of the water, and he's in shock.
Yeah, he's like passed out,
Michael's
like
in shock, not Brody.
he's like shocked.
So Brody looks out to the sea, and he's just like, he's in awe of this kind of that this shit is happening, because
it's the moment of reality of like he like I said before, he was thinking about Alex Kittner and his kid, relating it to that. Like, this was the true like come to Jesus moment of like, holy shit, that could have been my son.
Yep.
Like this is a problem that now I'm taking into my hands.
Yeah.
Like, this is Brody's done asking permission to go after this fucking thing. He knows exactly, like, we're going to go catch this fucking shark because it's just going to keep doing this.
Which is our next scene. We jump to the hospital, and Michael's being rolled away on a stretcher. He's okay.
He's fine. Yeah, he's like talking and shit.
he was just in shock, so I'm not sure exactly why he's at the hospital. Brody sees the mayor. The mayor's there, and the mayor apologizes. And he's trying to figure out a way to spin this in his favor.
Brody gives him the best dad look of all time of just like, no, listen, motherfucker. He's like, you got a pen?
Yeah. And the mayor's like, I just wanted to look out for the good of the community. And Brody's like, yes, that's why you're going to sign these fucking papers for the good of the community. You're going to say that I can put through.
He basically is like, we're hiring Quint.
Yes.
Like we've seen what these fishermen have done. They suck. What's funny is we haven't seen really Quint before this much. Since the thing, the only shot of Quint we get is when all the fishermen are doing crazy shit on the dock.
Yeah, with the dynamite and shit. Yeah.
Like, and then when they have the shark hauled up and like hung up, there's a shot of Quint going out to sea, and he's captaining in the boat, and everyone's around the dock and bragging about the shark, and they look at Quint, and Quint looks over at the shark and just does like a laugh to himself and keeps driving.
Yeah.
So like he's such a good shark fisherman that he knows instantly that's not the fucking shark, dude. So now they're going to call in the big guns. They're going to go get the local town shark hunter, which they should have done from the beginning.
Yep. But yes, the mayor signs the paper and allows Brody to do it. So Brody's talking to Quint.
And we see his like boathouse, which is awesome. It's just
he's got
nothing but shark teeth and jaws everywhere.
It's like his like when you go to like a hunter's house and they got like deer heads and shit on the wall.
It's just all sharks.
Just sharks. Yes.
So you can tell like, oh, this guy's not just a fisherman. Like, this dude literally just goes out and kills sharks.
You're assuming that they've already had the conversation of like, oh, I'm hiring you. We're gonna go after the shark. So this is Quint kind of showing Brody and Hooper his house and his shit, and
they're kind of agreeing
them, yes,
because he tells them like it's 10,000 total, and any over that it's going to be 2,000 a day or whatever if it goes over that. And like he's basically telling his things out. He's feeling out Brody. He's feeling out Hooper, which right away you can tell like Hooper and Quint are from two different schools of fishing. Quint's like as old school, like listen to the sea shanties and let the ocean kind of guide you to the things. Whereas Hooper has like fucking radars and all this tech on his boat. And you can tell right away, like, these two don't really get along. They're just
both experienced in their own ways.
Very experienced, but just come from two completely different schools of experience.
Yes.
And it's quite funny because right away Quint's trying to like throws a rope at Hooper and is like, tie me this kind of knot. And Hooper's like, fuck you, man. Like, I haven't done this in a while. And he ties the knot. And then when they're loading up the supplies on the boat, it's hilarious because Quint's got like some rope and like a couple like fishing poles and shit. And Hooper's just got like the whole deck laid out of like different guns, a metal cage, the oxygen tanks, and it's just all these toys. And Quint's just like, what the fuck are you doing, man? We're fishing and hunting a shark. Like, all these fancy things aren't going to do shit for you,
I think he said something about NASA. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, he's like, you got all your toys from NASA and all that.
Some
It's
shit
just,
like that.
Yeah, it's just your typical old sailor, like, dude, what is all this bullshit?
Yep.
All you need is a compass and the fucking ocean and you're good to go.
Yeah.
There's not much that happens. The funny thing, I love the shark cage fucking little conversation they have. Because Hooper has this big metal cage. Honestly, I don't think I cut you off or skipped anything.
Anti-shark or whatever.
Yeah, the anti-shark cage. He's like, oh, it's an anti-shark cage. And Quint gives him the look. and I wrote it down because I just laughed so hard because it's just so like genuine. You go in a cage. Cage goes in the water. You go in the water. Shark's in the water. Our shark. And just like doubling down. Like, I just want to make sure I'm understanding. Like, you're bringing that on to go in the water with this thing. And Hoop's just like, yeah. And he gives him that look, and he just starts singing like the farewell shanty that like you can tell like people sing at sea when like people die and stuff. He's like, farewell and adieu, and he starts singing the shit, and it's just like he gives Hooper that look and smile like, you dumb motherfucker.
Yep.
Like, this is not gonna end well for you, dude. Like, good luck, but here, welcome aboard, my dude.
We do get the line that I started this episode off with where he says, "Here's a swimming with bow-legged women."
Yep.
Which I don't fucking understand. This is one of those Quint things.
Well, I think that's like a sea thing. Bow-legged women's like a sea, like pirates and shit.
I guess I'm not a sea person, so I
yeah,
was like,
you gotta read a fucking book,
dude?
bro.
Fuck, man.
Take a break from the comics and read some history.
I read tons of books. They're comic books.
Yeah, no, that's that's the thing is, I'm pretty sure half of Quint's lines are literally just like real sea shanties and like fisherman jargon.
They must be. I mean, if they got him, he did his research. So
he's like a critically award-winning actor.
Jesus Christ, man.
The guy that plays Quint, he's like a famous UK like actor.
I have to look up more stuff with him.
Yeah.
What's really cool about the scene, like we had said earlier, is that you kind of see that Quint is not liking Hooper at all, but Hooper admires the fuck out of Quint's, his trophies and his jaws everywhere.
See, I don't agree with that. I think he's kind of put off by all the teeth that he sees.
He's like looking in awe at that.
See, I think he kind of is, because I don't think Hooper's not really about going out and killing all the sharks all the time because he's trying to study them.
Okay, I could kind of see that, yeah.
So I think he's kind of that jar factor of like, not like when Ace Ventura walks in and sees the heads on the walls and like goes nuts. Not like that, but I think it's that like, oh, I study sharks, this guy fucking hunts them.
Yeah.
Like, that's the difference.
Okay.
But again, I think Hooper does respect what Quint does.
Yeah, so then they head to the ship and they're loading on the equipment and they got the shark cage like you had said. And Brody's talking to his wife, and she's really nervous for him. And he says, don't use a certain fireplace. And it's kind of funny because they're kind of saying goodbyes as they're heading out. And he's just making sure his house and shit's going to be taken care of. She wants him
to be like taken care of as well. And you just see Quint in the background, like singing songs and like saying these crazy, like, I met a girl on the harbor, like just saying these crazy, like pirate type things. And she gives that look like, I can't believe my husband's life is in this fucking dude's hands. And like, it is what it is. We see the boat pull out through the jaws of the window in which a lot of people, if you go look up reviews, it's like, oh, that's the foreshadowing of like what's to come of the boat. It's also when we see the boat is called the Orca, which is awesome because orca whales are killer whales, which is one of the only sea mammals that fucking kill great white sharks. That's why this boat's called the Orca, because the killer whales are shark killers. That's like what they're known for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're like one of the top predators in the sea.
Interesting. Good
which
fun
is
fact.
why it's called the Orca.
So they're leaving now. They're leaving the harbor, and Brody's in the back, and he's making a trail of blood, and he's leaving.
He's chumming.
He's pouring
they call
chum.
it chumming.
Yeah, chumming. Oh, okay. He's got a word for it. He's always chumming and leaving it off the back. I'm assuming because they're trying to get the shark away from mainland.
No, they're trying to track him in. They don't know exactly where he's at. They know the area that he's in.
Okay.
But they're trying to establish a pattern to attract the shark to begin with. So as he's chumming and putting all the water, dead fish and blood and all that, Quinn has a line in all of that. So if that comes up and gets it, he's hoping that he'll catch the shark, which is what they kind of try to do.
There's some foreshadowing in the scene because they're walking around the boat and Brody accidentally hits over one of the tanks,
the oxygen
tanks, and Hooper freaks out and he's like, "Be careful! You want to blow us up," which is a great foreshadow.
Yeah, I mean, at one point too, Brody goes, "What are you gonna do with that or whatever?" And either Quint or Brody's like, "Yeah, who knows? The shark may just eat it." And it's like, "Oh, well, okay, yeah." He says that too, so it's like, okay.
Brody's tying knots. They're all hanging out. They're kind of doing their own thing.
It's cool because like Quint's kind of like taking Brody in under his wing instead of being like an asshole captain and just like barking at him. He's like teaching him how to tie knots. When Brody messes with the oxygen tanks, it's because he pulled the wrong knot when he was trying to undo something. And he's like, "Hey, next time, Captain," he's like, "just ask me, Chief, what not to pull, and I'll tell you." So it's like it's a cool moment to show like Quint's not just like this fucking total asshole like loner fisherman. He at least is cool with Brody, and he's trying to kind of teach him the ways. He's tying knots and all that shit. Whereas Hooper and Quint aren't really getting along, but like Hooper knows exactly what the fuck he's doing on the ship. Like Hooper's kind of driving while Quint's trying to like actually fish and catch this fucking thing.
Yeah, so like you said, Quint has the line out. Brody's kind of standing there tying knots and trying to get better at it. And Hooper's up top. He's driving the boat. He gets a bite. He isn't Quint. Quint gets a bite, and it starts slowly clip.
One of my favorite,
clips.
I don't know why I loved it so much, but like the tension building of him slowly like putting his harness on, like trying not to move very erratically, but like knowing like this is about to go down. Like he's about to take this bait and he's just slowly hooking himself up to the chair and getting himself in position with the rod. It's like great little like, ooh, here we go. Here we go. Yeah. Something's gonna happen.
You're buckling in,
And it's not it's a cool kind of moment.
Would you or have you ever deep sea fished?
I've not deep sea fished. I would love to. I love fishing.
That shit.
I would love
when he clips it into his belt, I was like, fuck that. The moment that thing takes off and is going to take me with it.
No. You're that's why he's tied into a chair. That's what those straps are.
That makes it even worse. If that takes that fucking chair out with you.
No, it's not going to pull out a chair. This isn't Jaws.
I mean, this is what makes it fucking scary.
This is why people are scared to do that. Yes, correct. 100%.
But I was like, fuck that.
No,
which is crazy because I have a question later on that I would totally do, which is way crazier than deep sea fishing. But that part where he clips it into his belt or whatever the hell he did, I'm like,
no, it's more so I'd be way more worried about it pulling it out of my hands and me losing like a $10,000 fishing rod. Like that's the real problem.
I've seen some pictures of some people deep sea fishing. I'm like, fuck, that's crazy big. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so they're reeling this thing in, and it's a fucking big shark on the line.
It's a big shark, and it's moving not typically how fish would when you get them on line. And that's what Quint's making notes on. He's like, this thing's either really smart or really dumb, and then all of a sudden the line goes completely slack, and that's when you know, and it hasn't broken, and that's when you know, if you're a fisherman, and Quits knows, he's like, fuck, this thing's under the boat, and like that's the last place you want this shark to be. And so now we know right away, like, oh, it's not just a killer giant shark, it's a smart killer giant shark.
And then right after that, the line does snap. It lets go.
Then right after
they do let go. And it's cool because in this scene when the reel is fucking going, Quint goes, "Oh, wet the line!" And I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah.
It's going so fast. He doesn't want the line to break. So yeah, and that's another cool thing because at this moment, Hooper's like against Quint trying to fish for the shark. He thinks it's a dumb idea, and he's like, "All you got is a marlin and all this shit. It's not a big deal." And then once the line breaks, Quint shows him the line, and he's like, do you know any aquatic animal that can break this kind of pound test, essentially? Because, like, you got to realize fishing line converts. They're like Spider-Man strength. You know what I mean? Like, little fishing line can hold thousands of pounds and all this. So the idea of him being like, you're a marine guy. You know all the fish in the sea. What breaks this type of... And he calls it piano wire, which is how thick you know it is. And then right away, Hooper has that look like, it's fucking shark. We're dealing with it. It is here, and it's fucking big because it just snapped that thing, and it's moving.
So we get some time passing, and we get a big scene here, a big line. Actually,
yeah. I was gonna say very famous scene. Yes. Not so much big scene.
Probably one of the top. I would say top 5
quoted movies lines of all time. Yep.
But Brody's in the back of the ship, and he's chumming still. He's going back to chumming.
Not happy about it.
And while he's doing this, he's tossing all this chum into the water, and the fucking shark jumps up.
It just kind of surfaces for a second and comes back down.
And Brody sees it out of the peripherals and then looks and still sees it there. And he has that shocked moment on his face. He's very shook. And he just fucking starts backing up into the main area of the boat where Quint is. And he just says the big line.
You're going to need a bigger boat.
That's right.
Tidbit. Stephen King recently has come out and said that for whatever it's worth, for his vote, that it's the greatest line ever said in movie history. So, according to Stephen King, who some argue is one of the best writers of like American history, horror writers, he says that you're going to need a bigger boat is the greatest line in cinema history. So,
this is
take
one
that for what it is.
This is one that a lot of people fuck up too. A lot of people are here say we're going to need a bigger boat. I'm like, shut the fuck up. And it's kind of like that.
What do they call those Mandela effects? Like the Berenstain Bears and shit like that.
But like the Luke, I'm your father. Like, he doesn't say Luke, I'm your father. He says no, I'm your father. Yeah. They do see this shark.
Well, yeah, because now it's kind of like circling the boat, and you can see the two fins, which is what's important to know how big. Like fishermen can judge the size of sharks off the fins. So right away, Quint's like, or Hoop's like, that's a 20-foot shark, and Quint's like, that's 25. Yeah, and goes 25 feet. That's 3 tons. And like that's what hit me today to be like, dude. Not only is this thing just giant in size, like the heaviness and like raw power that this thing must have, it's just so scary. It's like what are you gonna do? That's an actual monster like dinosaur swimming next to your boat, dude. Like
it's crazy,
terrifying.
So Quint grabs his case.
And God, and we get the fucking reference photo scene too, which is hilarious.
Large harpoon gun in it. Reference scene. What do you mean?
Fucking while Quint's trying to do like shark work and get his gun out. Hooper grabs his camera and he's trying to get Brody to go to the front of the ship because he wants to take a reference of how big the shark looks compared to a human. And Brody the whole time's like, you're out of your goddamn mind. I'm not going to the front. And Hooper's arguing with him like,
you do it.
Just go a little further. I just need a reference. Go a little further. And the shark is just like circling back and forth. And it's just another one of those like funny moments that breaks the tension of like just it's nothing crazy. It's like a throwaway dialogue that these two are having. It's not focused on, but it's a hilarious, like, actual human moment of, like, the nerd who loves sharks, like, yo, I need to get this for science. And the dude who hates water and hates all of this stuff is like, I'm not getting anywhere closer to this thing than I have to. Even if I'm still on the boat, I'm not going to the front of the boat. It's hilarious. It's a hilarious
It is
moment.
funny, yes. But it's on now. Like, fucking Hooper. Hooper's tying these barrels to the other end of the harpoon gun, and he's setting up Quint for this. He's the one that's going to shoot the harpoon gun. He nails it. He gets it.
Yeah, and it's a cool tension builder moment because Hooper decides like, oh, I'm going to get one of my fancy light things to attach to it.
Yeah, which doesn't make much sense to me because it doesn't come into play.
It does the first time the barrel shows up at night. It does, but the night scene is very... It's after the drinking scene. We'll talk about it. But it's not that big of a deal. The more thing it does is it prolongs Hooper tying the knot like he was told to. So we get the moment of Quint being like, yo, I'm trying to take the shot.
You aren't ready.
It's not ready. Can't get the barrel on it. Because the whole idea is they're going to put these barrels in it to track it. And they're also barrels that they don't weigh anything, but they're obviously heavy barrels that if it was to take it under, it's pretty much going to make the shark stay at a certain level in the water because it's attached to these barrels and the barrels float. Yeah. So it'd take a lot of strength to pull these things down.
As well as a visual cue of knowing where the fuck it's at.
Correct. As well as the visual cue, but it also is going to, like when you fish, you're trying to tire the fish out. That's the whole thing is you're trying to get it to go tired so you can now reel it in. They're going to use these barrels to kind of tire it out because anytime it tries to dive and go deeper, it's pulling X amount of pounds with them with this barrel. And they're giant barrels. So it's like, yo, we get a barrel in it, we're in good fucking shape. And like Matty said, nails the shot. Fucking nails it. It comes down to the last second. He nails it right in the fucking head. And the barrel goes in, and this shark takes the barrel underwater like it's fucking nothing.
We get a triumphant... This is where we get the first triumphant music.
Everything's like, oh yeah, we got the barrel. We can track the shark. And within like 5 seconds, this barrel just goes underwater. And it's like... Well, that wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah. They're like, what the fuck?
This is a super strong shark.
So they wait until night, and then they go below deck, and this is a bonding scene.
The scar scene.
Yes, this is the scar scene.
Which, fun fact, this scene we did in college, or the Spielberg and Lucas class. You could do a couple things for, like, the final, right? And one of them was to, like, make a movie or a parody involving Spielberg and Lucas. So we shot the Scars scene where I played Quint, our other buddy played Hooper, and then we had another kid that played Brody. We shot it in our like living room. We made it kind of look like a deck, and then we had one of our friends. We tied a light, and he sat there with the light on the string and pulled it so it looked like we were like swaying.
Okay.
And the whole parody of the thing was when we were comparing all of our scars, we did the same dialogue that they do, but all of our scars were from something from a Lucas or Spielberg movie. Okay. So it was like, oh, this is from Indiana Jones whip kind of thing, like that kind of shit. Okay. And we did the whole scene, and then I turned it in, and I remember my professor being like, this is fucking amazing. Because he's a Jaws guy, and he's like, I'm going to keep this forever. Like, this is... The sad thing, I can't find it. I went looking everywhere. It used to be on my buddy's YouTube, but then he actually got a job in the industry and like took down all his like college school shit, sad. You know what I mean? Because he's like trying to make everything more professional. Can't find it anywhere. We called it Scars, just like the Jaws font and everything. But yeah, I can't find the footage, but a young Tyler recreated that scene like scary movie parody style, and it was hilarious. It was a really fun time.
I like that.
But I love this scene. I fucking love this scene.
Yeah, I think this was the first thing I texted you. I was like, what the fuck is going on in this scene?
I love it.
I think I just said like...
No, you're like, I understand the scene's big or whatever, but I can't understand what the fuck's going on.
Yeah. I know what's going on. I just don't understand what he's saying. I can't comprehend. Comprehend is the word. Mm-hmm. I can't comprehend what Quint is actually saying. And I watched it twice. And I turned the volume up the second time, like all the way. I was fucking blaring.
Well, I will say this too. I mean, it doesn't help. He's a crazy, like New Englander to begin with. So he has that like accent coming in. He's like a crazy sailor fisherman. So he's got that accent coming in. And then in this scene, he's drunk.
Yeah.
So you add all that, I will say it is hard. By the time he gets to the speech, you can start hearing everything he says. But when they're comparing Scars, they're fucking toasted, dude.
I wrote down the words. I wrote down the specific words that I'm like, this is the only thing that I got out. Because, so to begin the scene, they're below deck, they're having drinks, and they're talking about their scars, their battle wounds, and they're comparing, and they're saying, oh, I got this scar from this, I got this scar from that.
And Hooper and Quint really start bonding because you realize they both have, like, scars from animals and sharks and stories and all this. So they really bond over... They each specifically have a shark attack bite on their leg. Well, not bite, but an injury from a shark on their leg. So the whole thing's like, oh, we'll drink to your legs. Like, we'll drink to our legs. So that's the whole thing of, like, they finally bonded. You also get a hilarious Brody moment. They're all going... They each have multiple scars. Yes. Brody doesn't say anything this whole time and then just casually lifts up his shirt and looks at his, like, tiny, like, appendix scar that he probably had when he was a little kid, like... So it's just to show you, like, Brody has no experience compared to these dudes who, like, literally have been, like, attacked by different sea creatures and have lived to tell the tale.
And then Brody finally asks about a scar that's on Quint's arm, and Quint tells him this.
It's a removed tattoo.
Yeah. Do you want me to go through the words that I actually, and then you can explain what he's saying?
Yeah, whatever. Because I'll get this out there right now. I think this is one of the best monologues
and it's
thrown down in film history.
And this is what I've looked up, and this is exactly what I've not looked up, but
what people like.
I keep hearing is that people love this scene.
I love it, dude.
And that's why
I'll watch this shit on YouTube just like randomly. Like,
and this is why I watched this scene 3 times, and I'm still like,
can't get enough of it.
Oh man, so the words that I got Hiroshima, tiger shark,
the Hiroshima bomb. We delivered the bomb.
Lost 100 men. Sharks have lifeless eyes. 1,000 sharks. Nobody, and then I said, nobody talks like Quint. I've never met anybody or heard anybody who actually speaks like Quint does in this movie.
Oh, I have.
So it's completely made up.
I have. No, you got to get to the Eastern Seaboard, my dude. When have you been to Boston and that shit?
Never.
You need to get the fuck out of Illinois. That's the thing, dude.
If this is what I have to look forward to, I don't want to go there.
You need to get fucking. That's the thing. Like it's not. I mean, it's obviously dramatized. He's more pirate than anyone sounds in like Boston but fishermen, people speak like this. Like that's the thing. Now, all the things you understand, I don't know how you pick those words up and nothing else because it all sounds the exact same. But if you're not Matty and you understand what's going on or you don't, I'll explain it for you.
Yes,
but
please.
The reason this is so amazing is because, one, they're tying in an actual event that happened in real life history. The USS Indianapolis is a real ship that delivered the atomic bombs during World War II that went down. They got sunk, which is what he explains. They got sunk, and all the men in the water were eaten by sharks over X amount of days. It's something that really happened in history. You can go look it up. So now they're taking something that really happened that everyone knows about, and it's known as like the deadliest shark attack of all time. Not everyone died from sharks. As people died from like hypothermia and shit like that, but like whatever he says the number, like 1,000 went in and fucking 200 come out or whatever it is. Like that's real. And people like, so what we learn though is one, it's a gory, scary kind of story how he tells everything. He tells about how he saw his friend floating there and he bobs up and down, flips over, he's bitten in half and all this shit. And he explains what happens when a shark comes in and the best, like, a doll's eyes, a black eyes, like a doll's eyes, you know, like lifeless, and they roll back. Like, it's just, he explains viscerally, like, yo, I've been there when a shark has attacked. I haven't just seen it. I've been in the water. And now it's the real eye-opening moment of, like, this is why Quint kills and hates sharks. Because he went through, quote unquote, American history's worst shark event of all time, and he survived. And that was his whole thing of like, the thing that gets me in the monologue every time is like, you want to know when I was most scared? When I was next in line to get saved and lifted up into the boat. He's like, that's when I was most scared. And it's like, could you imagine being out for 7 days or whatever the fuck they are out in the water? Everybody and all your buddies are getting eaten by sharks around you. You don't know what's going to come. And you're next waiting for your turn to literally get saved. And it's like, I need to make it 30 more seconds. Mm-hmm. But can you make it 30 more seconds? You know, it's like that shit hits me every time where it's like, whew, that's scary. And then, yeah, he gives the, like, I'll never put on a life jacket again. Like, never. If the ship's going down, I'm going down. Like, we're not going through.
Those last two sentences you just said?
Yeah.
Didn't even hear it at all.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
I did not hear it at all.
And I don't even mean to be a dick, but I've never had anyone come up to me being like, I don't understand. I can't understand. Like, I get he's tough to understand at parts, especially like the drink to our leg thing. He's just drunk rambling. But the monologue, the dude's fucking spitting hot fire.
Well, and I did text you and I was like, I'm not saying it's a bad monologue.
No, exactly.
By
You
any
did say that
means.
too. Yeah.
It's not a bad monologue. I just don't understand what he's saying. And I had Sam watch it next to me. And when I had the volume turned up all the way, and she's like, okay, I did get this, but it was fucking hard to understand him. And I was like, and she Googled the monologue to know what he was saying. And I was like, yeah, I was like, I've already listened to it 3 times. Like I every time I get a little bit more, but I can't.
It's one of those things too. Like there's something to characters that like, you don't need to understand every single word that's coming out of their mouth to make it land with that characterization of the character.
No.
Like you look at Benicio del Toro, there's probably 2 roles in his entire career that you can understand what he's actually saying. He's made a living off of like, I just go and mutter, you don't.
The gibberish,
you have no idea what that guy's fucking saying.
I know when I saw him in Usual Suspects, I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
You know,
right now?
Usual Suspects, dude, fucking Savages, like he's just mumbling and like just saying shit. You're like, is he saying? But it works. It builds that character. So I feel like that helps. That's with Quint a little bit. But Matty in the USS Indianapolis speech just don't click. But it's on record, will say I want it known. I will go to bat. I think it's one of the best fucking monologues in film. It's fucking solid, and I love the delivery. Because it's also the first time we see Quint really kind of show a different side.
Yeah.
This is his first time of letting the wall down.
He lets the wall down, yeah, absolutely.
And he's like, this really does scare me. Like, you guys are scared of X, Y, and Z. Like, I never want to be in that position again. Because that was terrifying. And it's just another thing of like, goddamn, this dude, he is the Shark Man. This guy was like Bane. He was born in it. Like, like... So, it's just, again, it's another really famous scene of Jaws. Like, people know the scar scene. And it ends with them all kind of bonding over it, and they just start fucking breaking out in song.
They do.
They're like singing a sea shanty which then we see
They're making noise.
the bear, exactly, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because it's, again, all of a sudden the barrel pops up in the water with the blinky thing that fucking Hoop put on it, which again is the only time we ever see the blinky thing, which makes no sense.
It must have went so fast.
It is because right away they show the barrel come up, and then you go back into the cabin, and the cabin walls start getting hit from the sides, and they're all singing and can't hear the damage getting done. But by this time, the shark is now attacking their boat that they're singing super loudly on. Until finally Quint's like, we're rocking a little heavy, and like, I think I hear a noise, and like all the singing stops, and it's like, oh shit, shark's back.
Yep. Jaws is ramming this boat so bad that now it's leaking.
It's leaking. Yeah, he's breaking the hole.
Quint starts shooting with a gun at the fucking thing.
Yeah, he's drunk shooting. They're pissed.
Brody goes and gets his gun, and at this point, I only noticed it one time. Is there a shooting star in the sky?
Dude. The first time I watched this, or this is the first time I noticed this today, when I watched it, I was like, did they happen to catch a shooting star? What the? Because it's like a little red thing that shoots across. Yeah. So it's either that or some kind of, like, back then they're still shooting on hard film. Okay. So I don't know if it's like hard, but it's like through digital process by now. Like, I feel like they'd take that out if it was just like a cigarette burn or whatever the fuck they call like the little marks and dusts and shit that get on the film from the actual film composite. But it sure looks like some kind of shooting star. And it's, again, they're not CGIing any of this shit in.
No, that would have been a waste of time.
Literally is happenstance of, like, they probably caught a shooting star on screen, unless, I'm sure there's articles about it. But this today, and I've seen Jaws a lot of times. Today was the first time I was like, is that a shooting star?
Yeah.
So it's funny you brought that up, because that stuck out to me.
Because what stuck out to me about it was like, I was like, either A, it's a shooting star, or B, which just wouldn't make any sense because of the time that it comes out. I was like, was that fucking a reference to like E.T.'s, that E.T. ship or some shit?
Yeah. No. And no.
Both Steven Spielberg, but I'm like, okay, maybe it's wishful thinking in a way of me just saying, hey, he likes to tie his shit in.
I don't know.
But
again,
it was interesting though. I was like, what the fuck is that?
No,
is that
I agree. There is something that comes across the screen in the sky that's very quick that looks like a shooting star.
So quick. We go to the next day, and Hooper and Quint are trying to fix the boat, and the barrel comes back up again. So they pull up the rope slack, and Jaws comes up for a bite. And Brody calls the Coast Guard. Yeah. He goes in and he calls the Coast Guard.
And Quint's not having that at all.
Quint fucking smashes it. He just smashed this fucking phone. He goes at it.
He grabs a bat. He grabs a bat and he smashes the shit out of it, and then looks at Brody like nothing happened. Yeah. He's just like, "What's up, dude?" And it's like, it's clear Quint had a crazy moment too, but you also know, like, Quint wants this fucking thing.
He does.
Like, this is now a personal, like,
this is his Everest at this point.
Correct. This is the Jaws he wants hanging on his wall. Like, and he's not going to let some fucking Coast Guard come fucking scare it away, or anyone else get involved or even take the kill from him. He's been committed this long. He's tracked this fucking thing. He found it. He's going to be the one to fucking bring this thing down. Yeah. And Brody's just left like, what the fuck did you just do, dude? But there's nothing he can do because they're on a boat.
Hooper hooks up another barrel, and Quint starts shooting. He does get...
he gets two in him.
He gets two more, yes. And we get the triumphant music again. You're like, yeah.
Yeah, because now you're like, oh, he's got two. So what are you going to do with two? Because we know the one's already heavy.
They start chasing Jaws, and they get another barrel into it.
Well, before three,
yes,
they take the two when he's tied up, because he dives first. He dives with the two, and it's like, what the fuck? But then when they come back up, they hook him, because right after they just pop up and they're just sitting there, so he's not moving. They hook him to the back of the boat, the two different barrels, and that's when Jaws now, or Bruce, whatever you want to call him, decides, like, okay, you hooked me up to your boat, I'm going to tow your fucking boat.
He starts because they start trying to drag it.
Yeah, because basically once they get him in, they're like, fuck, we're going to drag him into the shore because that's shallow water, so we're going to drown his ass, essentially. And Jaws decides, no, we're going to go the other way, and turns the boat around. You see the boat, like, moving, and then it just starts taking off deeper into the sea. Yep. And now they're like, fuck, we got to disconnect.
The engine is shot at this.
Yeah, and the engine's, like,
smoking white shit.
In trouble, and the fucking back of the boat's, like, starting to crack and stuff, and Quint's like, we got to cut these lines. It's going to rip the back of the goddamn boat off. Like, that's when now they throw the third barrel in. They get because they decide, all right, we're gonna unhook these so he's not tied to the boat, but we're gonna get him with another barrel. So now he's got 3. And Quint very like boldly is like, nothing can take down 3 barrels. Like I've never seen anything. 3 barrels is a guaranteed. Like we're good. And they get the 3 barrels. We get the triumphant music once again. It's swimming around with the barrels for a little bit. And then it turns and comes at the boat full force. And all we're seeing is the barrels. Because, again, we're not seeing the shark a lot. It's a lot of play on. We're just seeing 3 barrels headed straight towards the boat. And right before it gets to the boat, the motherfuckers just go underwater. And it's like, oh, my God. And instantly, Quint and Hooper both have a moment out loud where they're like, you've never seen a shark do that, right? And they're both like, nope, this is a bad situation we are in, dude. So you're just, again, it's just to stress.
Because Quint admits, like you said, I've never had this happen before.
Yeah, it's to stress, like, this thing is a different beast. It's stronger, it's bigger, it's faster than anything we've ever dealt with or know of. Because they start deciding, all right, we're going to start the boat and keep driving into shore, and the shark starts chasing them. And that's when Brody turns and goes, do great whites do this? And Hooper's like, no. This is not like normal great white behavior. They don't usually fucking chase your boat into the goddamn shore, you know? So it's just like the Jaws wants them now. Like Quint wants Bruce, and Jaws the shark wants that fucking boat. Yes. He is on it.
It turns around though at some point because Quint starts pushing the boat too hard, and that's when the engines.
That's when they're trying to go towards the sea. They're trying to go towards shore.
Okay.
They're gonna try to make a run for it, and he's
fucking losing it. He's like,
because you see how fast the shark's moving too. Like those barrels are flying through the water, and even Hoop says like something like fast shark or something, and so he's fucking trying to push it to the max, pushes it too much, and Hoop's warning him like, you're gonna burn the engine, you can't go that fast. And Quint's kind of like, we got a fucking shark on our tail. I'm trying to get us into the goddamn shore. And he blows the engine. So now they're fucking a sitting duck, essentially.
So Jaws calms down for a moment, long enough for Quint to come down, and he tosses Hooper and Brody life jackets.
Yep.
He's like, this fucking
because they're taking on water.
He's like, this boat's going down. Yep. Or the ship's going down. And this is when Hooper gets a new plan. He's like, you know what? I have these tranquilizers. If I get close enough to it, I can shoot it with it and
basically poison it. Like he's gonna overdose. Like he's gonna put in a ton of this like poison and just try to like overdose this fucking thing and kill it.
And this plan entails him going into the anti-shark cage. Yes. So the fucking ship is already like starting to capsize, starting to sink, and he's like, "Let's hook up a fucking."
Not the best idea. I agree, not the best idea. But at the same time, too, you're essentially fucked at that point.
I mean,
So what other option?
They're at their last,
correct,
the end of their rope.
Because the plan too is like they can't even shoot this thing because they're like they establish like, yo, that needle's not gonna penetrate the shark skin, and Hoop's like, yeah, I know, I gotta fucking get it with this like prong thing that doesn't shoot out of a gun, and he's like, and I gotta try to get it in the mouth because that's where the skin will be soft.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, great plan. You want to go in the water. And then hopefully this thing gets close enough where you can stick this little rod in its mouth. Good luck, Hooper.
And Brody right away is like, are you fucking crazy? That shark's going to annihilate that cage.
And Hooper's just like, we have zero other ideas. Yep. And even Quint doesn't protest, who's been the one that's like against it the whole time. But he's just like, Quint's tried everything too. Like,
and this is another one of those things like we were talking about when he's getting in his wetsuit and the flippers to go look at the fucking fisherman's or the hole in the boat. Like, Hooper, are you fucking crazy, dude?
Yeah.
Like, I understand that I understand this is the end of the rope, but holy shit, man.
Yeah,
like,
Hooper
crazy.
Just does not give a fuck.
So Hooper does get inside the cage, he gets in the water, and Jaws just annihilates
He does a cool
cage.
fake out. Like, he does the shark swims by him and then just swims to the distance and he's gone, and then it like circled him and hits him from the back where he's not expecting it. He drops his little fucking pokey stick and and it's not even one of those things where like the tension builds and then he goes to stab it and he drops it. The shark hits the cage, he drops the pole, and you're like, well, now he's just stuck in a cage without a weapon. Yeah. Like, what's going to happen now? And you see him from the initial hint, the bars have been bent. So like from the instant hit that he had, it's like, oh, the shark's already going to tear through this cage. Like, this is going to end very bad for Hooper. And sure shit, shark turns around and decides, I'm going to try to get what's in this cage, and just is like going at the actual cage. Which again, another crazy thing to think of, like, this is something that's 1,000% CGI nowadays. This was fucking Dreyfus in the water with a mechanical giant shark acting like, you know, trying not to like to think about, and they actually filmed this in a swimming pool in one of the like editors' swimming pools. But still, it's like nowadays it would be like, okay, you're in water, a shark's attacking here, react and all this. Like, you're actually in a goddamn steel cage and there's a monster robotic shark. That's some scary shit to film, dude. You know what I mean? It's like, and that's why those movies hit hard, because you can't beat practical, man. Because like that shit, I guarantee you, when he's in the cage, it's not that scary, but like there's moments where you have that, like, that was a little real. You know, like that happens as actors. You get those moments where you're like, well, that was real. That was real for a second. You know what I mean? And like that shit, it's a scary scene because the shark's trying to get it. It's like your classic, the shark's mouth is just inches from Hooper and can't quite get his giant ass head in the little cage. Yeah. Very, very scary moment. You think Hooper is fucking toast.
Yeah, because it breaks the whole fucking rig.
He rips it apart.
It breaks the winch that it's attached to right off the boat
up.
And it goes to the bottom, and Hooper does make it out of there, and he kind of swims away.
So smart. He just goes and hides in the coral reef at the bottom, because he knows like the shark's way too big to get him in there.
As far as Brody and Quint know, he's fucking dead. But this is the thing. So I had asked you earlier if you would do...
I know what you're gonna say. I don't know.
Would you? You wouldn't get into a shark cage? In a heartbeat, I'd do it.
It would depend. I think it would depend. I think on like what kind of sharks we're talking about. Like, I don't think like great white infested waters. No,
I feel like they've reinforced cages enough. You don't hear about people dying nowadays. Shit maybe, now, so I'd be like, fuck it, cool. I would get in it so fast, but I wouldn't do what the. I can't even remember what the other thing I asked you. Oh, the deep sea fish. Oh, I wouldn't deep sea fish and clip some shit to me. I wouldn't do it.
That's crazy.
I wouldn't do it, but I would jump into a cage.
You are a psychopath. This dude is scared that he's gonna get pulled in the water, but then he's willingly gonna jump in a cage and go in the water.
The cage seems safer to me.
Let me ask you this. In how many movies has anyone gone into a cage and it's ever worked out well?
It's all fucking fake. It's all movies, man.
Not true. Inspiration of real life. You never seen those alligator cages gone wrong on the internet?
Alligator cage? I ain't getting in the water with alligator.
You wouldn't go in. You would go into
alligators are scary, man. They got death rolls. I'm afraid of that.
What are you talking about? But you're in a cage. It won't. It'll protect you.
There's alligators are sneaky.
But you're in a cage. They've advanced everything. What's there to worry about? It's just like getting in the water with a shark. What's the difference?
People don't get in the shark with alligator cages. They do.
Look them up.
Alligator cages,
dude.
You can't even see in that murky water.
I'm telling you right now. I've seen these cages go bad. I've seen this shit on the internet.
I'd get into blue water where I could see
blue
a shark.
Water. Yeah. All right, that's fair. You're a psychopath. He draws the line at alligators and wants to go. Hey, I'll go in the cage with sharks.
I'll swim with sharks too. I don't even need the cage. Certain sharks. I would totally swim with sharks.
Yeah, depends on the shark. I don't know. I respect creatures and animals in nature, bro.
I do too.
I don't fucking.
I'm not gonna disrespect
my place. I know my place. I'm not talking disrespect like walking up and being like, "Hey, fuck you, shark." I'm talking like,
"Fuck your mom,
knowing your goddamn place on the food chain and not fucking with that."
We're the fucking top, dude.
Yeah, but in our little bubble in suburbia, not in the goddamn ocean.
So you would not jump into a shark cage, is what you're saying?
Probably not.
Okay.
I don't know. It would be. I would have to have a lot of reinsurance. A lot of people have done this before millions of times at our establishment. Not just like, oh yeah, we got a shark cage we take on the weekends. Like, no, fuck you, bro. Like, I'm not going to a shark cage on Quint's boat. I need to have a. Yeah, no, God, no. I'm not going to sea with Quint. Like, no, I'm staying off that.
He could probably show you some deep sea fishing, though.
No, I'm good.
So, yeah, they think that Hooper's dead, and Jaws, at this point, has had enough.
Yeah, he goes full animal mode.
He gets on the ship.
Which is awesome. And it's, in a way, it's corny, because he jumps on the boat up and, like, starts eating the ship and, like, sinking the ship. But then it's like, I was thinking today, it's like 25 feet, 3 tons, like he says. If that's even remotely close of the weight of that animal, you know, like, if that jumps on a boat, it's going to fucking make the boat, like, you know, tilt up like it does, which is really cool, because that's, like, how Quint, like, fucking falls to his demise coming right up, because the boat is slanted up. Quint falls and just slides right fucking down, because everything's wet, into the goddamn shark's mouth, where he's, like, got his feet on the jaws, like, don't eat me kind of thing, and it's just like, oh, no. Quint's gone. And you have a glimmer of hope in a way, because, like, Hoop's just escaped. Hooper escaped the cage, and you're like, okay, Hoop got out. Is someone like is Brody gonna shoot the shark or something? And like, no, the shark just fucking decimates Quint, and we get like a real. This is like the most intimate shark death that we get in the movie.
Yeah,
because it's like him getting eaten, bleeding from the mouth, like just like yelling and being like going through it, like I'm getting eaten by a goddamn shark.
He's getting slowly eaten.
Yeah, it's not like
this is something like I don't think Alex or the dude in the little dinghy boat had the moment
those guys got snatched. Dude.
Yeah, like
and the first girl, she suffered, but like it was different because she was getting pulled underwater. All that, like Quint is literally laying there, just like getting slowly eaten by the shark. He could
see Brody like. Hey,
do something.
Fuck, what am I gonna do? Like, yeah, it's pretty. It would be awful.
And
so he does eat Quint, and then he starts going on a hunt for Brody. And this is a horror, the horror element of the movie. Of like Brody's being stalked.
Through the goddamn window.
Brody's being stalked at this point. He's not just being like,
no, it's
I'm gonna get you.
This is like, super smart shark, and like. It's a cool kind of jump because the boat's sinking, so everything's kind of mid waist water because Brody's like going into the deck, the room, the captain room, and all that, and then the shark just comes through the goddamn window because the boat's now at like water level.
And Brody's just throwing shit up at him.
Yeah, he just does not know. He's just throwing things at it.
He reaches over, he finds the air tank that he had knocked over earlier. And he throws it into the mouth of Jaws, and Jaws leaves for a moment.
Yeah, he like takes it and kind of backtracks for a second.
And that gives Brody enough time to get out of that room.
Which Jaws has done multiple times during this movie. Like, he kind of hits, and then he'll like retreat and then come back.
Yeah,
like
he does.
He kind of, that's how it kind of attacks. So as soon as Brody throws the tank and it like kind of eats the tank, it backs off and disappears for a second. It's that moment of like, oh shit, shark's gone.
They're both catching breathers at this point.
Correct.
So Brody leaves that room and he gets to the highest point of the ship, which is not saying much because this fucking ship is going down.
It's so cool. Like, I just noticed today how he takes the final shot, like literally like almost in prone because the thing is like sinking at the same time. So he's like,
what do they call it? The crow's nest?
He's in the crow's nest, but it's sinking. So it's low and it's sinking at an angle. So he starts off aiming like this, and by the end he's laying down like prone, trying to stay above water because he wants to get a shot at the shark because the shark's now beelining towards him with his mouth open, and Brody can see he's got the tank like stuck in his like tooth.
Well, it comes up to him one time on the crow's nest, and he's jabbing him with a spear.
Yes.
And then he drops the spear. Jaws backs away one more time again, gives him another breather, and that's when you said that he's coming full speed ahead of him.
Full speed, and he opens his big mouth, and like you see the tank, like you see like flesh and all this shit in its jaws, like it's just things get caught.
It just ate Quint.
Yeah, exactly. And the tank's like in the corner of his mouth, and you can tell Brody's like, I just got to hit the tank. And starts taking pot shots at this thing as it's just getting closer and closer and closer. And we get another famous line from the movie. We get "Smile, you son of a bitch." Right before he fucking
super cheesy, but
lands the shot and blows the shark to absolute fucking pieces. Dude.
Yes,
this sushi explodes this fucking shark.
It
dude.
Does.
It's cool. It's a cool like
it's the same moment like you had mentioned Deep Blue Sea, like when they attach the battery to it with the harpoon and just fucking explodes. Like this is the same element in that way of
correct.
In Deep Blue Sea, they must have been paying homage to this movie.
Oh, the whole Deep Blue Sea movie is like
it's a shark movie. So once you already say this is a shark movie, you're already getting all the
pretty much
everything,
Jaws,
every kind of reference you can is going to go right straight to Jaws.
Yeah,
but it fucking annihilates this shark,
which is a big fight that the author and Steven Spielberg got into because that's not how the book ends.
Okay,
it's not how the shark dies in the book. He wasn't mad that he changed that, but he was mad that it was unrealistic to shoot an oxygen tank and make an explosion that big and kill an animal that big, with it. And Spielberg straight up told him, like, by this point, I have the audience in the palm of my hand. They're going to believe me, whatever I show them.
This is the last 3 minutes of the movie.
It's that idea of, like,
fuck I want.
You gotta, and it's right. It's that movie magic of Spielberg knows exactly where he has his audience in the world he's built, where he's like, dude, what's the difference between in the book he dies because him and Quint Quint gets eaten still, but as he's eaten, Quint just is stabbing the shit out of him the whole time, like he is with the thing, and the shark actually dies that way. Quint kills it just by stabbing it like to pieces, and they both die together. Hoop also dies in the book. He gets eaten in the shark cage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he gets toast earlier. But Hoop's kind of a piece of shit in the book.
Oh, okay.
But anyways,
I do have a reference to that.
Yeah, he's kind of a piece of shit. Like Spielberg left a lot of that shit out, but yeah. But the author's problem was the explosion, not that they're gonna kill Jaws with a different way, but how they're doing it. And that Spielberg's like, dude, we got a giant shark movie for 2 hours. They're buying all into it now. They're gonna have no problem watching this thing fucking explode.
I wonder if they've myth busted that.
Oh, I'm sure they have. For Shark Week, they used to do Mythbusters Shark Week all the time. I'm sure they have. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, for sure.
I bet it's not. No, there's no way it's true that you get that kind of explode. Like, that's a literal, like, bomb going off inside that shark. That's
a big-ass tank.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, that's why...
I'm going to put it on. If I find it, it's going to be on a Facebook post.
It might be online, but... That's the main reason that the guy got kicked off set, because Spielberg was just tired of him arguing about his ending.
Nice.
And they said, like, Spielberg was worried about the ending, because he also has an alternate ending to all this, too.
Okay.
And, like, people fucking loved the explosion. Like, right away, people were like, we love the shark getting shot and blown up. Again, yeah, it's the 70s and fucking explosions, dude. What else doesn't work?
Absolutely.
So, they actually filmed that when Spielberg wasn't even on set. He already had left because they had taken so long to film. It was the last day of filming. They did that.
Okay.
He's like, I got to get back to LA, and left his dudes to do it. And so he saw the explosion and was like, all right, well, that'll work.
Jeez.
Yeah. Big shot to leave in somebody's hands, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. So Brody does nail the tank. Jaws explodes. Hooper comes back up. This is where Hooper comes up slowly. He's kind of taking a look around. He sees Brody. He swims over to Brody, and they have a moment where
they laugh.
They laugh with each other, and Hooper had asked if Quint made it, and he says like, nah. And they start swimming back to shore.
As there's like a million seagulls feasting on this shark that just exploded in the carcass. Sea. Yeah, the carcass. Another little cool thing, when you see the shark, like Jaws gets blown in half, right? Mm-hmm. And you see like his tail end sinking and all the blood, like the entire screen is turning red from the blood in the water. Mm-hmm. If you listen closely, as the shark is sinking, you hear like a monster roar. And this is real. You hear a monster roar. It's the same roar that he uses when the truck explodes in Duel. He put a monster roar when the truck explodes because it like falls off a cliff and blows up. Fucking spoilers, the movie's been out for fucking 70 years. It's your fault if you haven't seen it. And the truck explodes and this like monster roars because he always wanted the truck to be this thing. So when Jaws died, he was like, I'm going to call back to Duel and put it. That's also rumored to be the noise that was the template for how they created the T-Rex roar. Because Spielberg's always had this monster roar that he's kept in all his monster movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's just another little Spielberg thing sitting in the editing room like, hey, man, I got a sound cue I want you to use. Yeah, so...
very nice.
And then you get the credits.
Yeah, that's it. That's the end of the movie.
If you watch the credits long enough, you'll actually see Hoop and Brody make it to shore.
They do.
Yeah, they get to shore and walk away.
And that's the end of the movie, like we had said. And our final thoughts. I have some questions with this. Mm-hmm. So does this movie get better for you with every watch? Or how do
it's one of those, I think it really, at this point, like I'm starting to pick up more and more shit where like it really does. Now it's not a movie I can watch like every day because it's got a pace to it and it's long. Like it's not the most exciting thing I would say, but I do feel like I pick up little things every time I watch this movie where
like
it's
shooting
like,
stars,
God,
yeah.
Correct. You know what it's just like little things where I'm like, damn, he was thinking of a lot of shit when they were doing this, man.
Now, I do like this movie better than I had watched it, or better than I had liked it 10 years ago. When I rewatched it this second time, I liked it a little bit more, and when I rewatched it the third time, I liked it a little bit more. So it's gradually
So,
going,
like, by watch 50, Matty may be able to handle Quint.
Here's my fucking some of my bigger problems of this movie, okay? It's people like Quentin Tarantino that fuck it up for me. And they say this is the greatest movie ever made. That's what gets me down. It's like it's almost, for most things, it's the expectation that once you say those words, I'm like, wow, I'm gonna be shocked, I'm gonna be stunned by this movie, and then I watch it and I'm like, greatest movie? No. And then I play it down more in my head.
I think all that's fair. I think you also are on the record for being like the scene kid who, when something is noticed as super liked by everyone or the greatest of something, Maddie's the first to be like, well, there is this and this, and which is fine. I'm not making fun. Like, it's just, I think you're on record on this podcast saying that a couple times. So.
I would agree with that 100%.
And I think Jaws is one of those movies where most people are like, oh, that's one of the best movies of all time.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of that camp, but.
And the problem is that, like, when I watch this movie, I'm like it's mediocre acting to me. I'm not sure how you feel about that. I think it's mediocre. Is anybody great? I feel like every single person in this movie could be replaced with anybody else, and it would still get the same effect.
No, I think Brody you could replace. I think Richard Dreyfuss brings a lot to the role because he has a lot of facial reactions and he does all the different voices randomly, like when he's talking back. And again, I know you don't like him, but Quint's a fucking solid fucking. I'm
gonna push this question forward then, because I always ask who the MVP of the movie is. Who do you believe the Quint?
Yeah,
because I'm on board with Richard Dreyfuss. Richard Dreyfuss was great for me.
Hooper's great too. Like I said, I think Brody, Roy Schneider's the one that you could swap out.
Okay,
you could swap out. He's kind of like the common man, plain face. Yeah. But you don't get those actors to play Quint and Hooper. They give you two completely different characters.
I think it's a very thin story. It's a very basic story.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's the people who also set that expectation of being like, this movie's fucking scary. And I'm like, this movie ain't fucking scary.
That's the thing. I say terrifying and scary in a way. It's not like, again, it's a lot of descent. Like, if you're born nowadays, you're not going to be scared of this. Like, in the 70s, though, when it came out, like, people legit didn't go to the beaches for a year because of this. So it's like if you think of it in that context, like, for its time, it was scary. It's just like The Exorcist. People saw that. I watched The Exorcist, and I'm like, this is a joke. Whereas back in the day, like, people were having full-blown heart attacks in the fucking theater because of this.
And I do have this as a reference, because the pacing was an issue for me. There's a lot of things that are happening in this movie, and I like it all. The problem is that it seemed very boring, but I have movies here as reference of these movies are considered great movies from the 70s, but they still are boring. And two of them are movies that I really like. So The Godfather.
Yeah. Oh, that's a
great movie, but fucking boring. And the pacing is just like, oh my gosh, when's the next thing going to happen? Or when are we going to pick this up a little bit? Godfather is one of those movies. Another one of them is The Exorcist. It's a good movie. It's got its elements to it that are great, but I'm like,
yeah, it's not even like fucked up pacing or bad pacing. It's just slow burn pacing. Like, that's the difference.
Yeah, and I think that, and it's a 70s thing. I think.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, my storytelling back then is just different.
Yeah, Willy Wonka. I love Willy Wonka, but I always forget that, like, the beginning is so fucking boring. It takes
a long time.
Superman, Christopher Reeves.
Yeah, I'm not a big
good
fan
movie, but it's just fucking boring. And then the last one I have is Star Wars.
Oh yeah,
I love Star Wars, but it's fucking. It's kind of a boring movie. Yeah. When I was showing the girls those movies, I kind of skipped through A New Hope. I'm like, we need to get to something more fast paced.
Well, yeah, again, that's today's age of movie and storytelling and everything. We're just used to. You can't do movies like this shit anymore.
No,
which I think is why we get a problem that we're in today, where movies feel shallow and things like that too, because people are so fucking afraid to let movies breathe now. Like, that's the
certain
thing.
Filmmakers. Yeah, absolutely. I can see that for sure.
So I like, again, does everyone need to go back to making 2-hour movies? No. But people need to, like, also realize there is some, like, again, I disagree. I think the pacing in Jaws is fantastic because there is slow, boring, like, normal everyday life 70s type scenes, but then there's, like, your absolute thrill seeking, like, make up time here and there scenes. You know, it's like a roller coaster. Yeah. It's a fucking roller coaster of, like, what's going to happen.
Every scene is necessary in this movie.
I'll say
most scenes are necessary.
There's not a lot of bullshit.
I would say 90% of this movie is necessary. So I don't know. One of the things that I brought up to Sam, I was like, I honestly think that Jaws needs a re-edit. It doesn't need to be remade per se, but I think if it had a re-edit where it kind of picked up the pace a few places, or, you know, a lot of people have a problem with the Batman. They say, I don't need to hear or see a scene where Batman fucking walks for 40 seconds. And I agree. I love the movie The Batman, but there are issues where the pacing is like, okay, let's pick this up just a tiny bit. And this is what I had with Jaws. Like, if it was re-edited just a little bit faster, I'd be completely cool with it. And it knocks it down a tiny bit for me. And that's how I feel about The Batman as well. And that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
On that note, I had asked you if you wanted to fan cast this. And it's only because when I was watching, I was like, ooh, this person would be good for this. So I have a few people here, and I just want you to just shoot it down completely, or tell me if I think they'd be good.
All right.
So for Brody, I have Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, I got a soft spot for him. I like him in like everything.
Yeah.
So like
once I pictured him as the chief on 30 Days of
and
Night.
I don't mean to be like disrespectful, but he plays a great like kind of normal
everyday
straight
man.
Like a not boring, but just like a regular, like nothing too crazy. So yeah, I accept that.
Okay, so for Hooper, I gender swapped it. I have Brie Larson, somebody who's not necessarily a heartthrob, but I could see her as coming out of like college for a few years and being a marine biologist. I have Brie Larson.
Yeah.
Okay. I have two people for Quint because I wasn't sure. I want one that sees fit and would be awesome, and then the other person is my Academy Award winner who would just fucking kill the role. The first person I have is Michael Shannon. I think Michael Shannon.
Yeah, well, he's another guy you can't understand half the fucking things that guy says too.
Yeah,
that dude.
And then I have Christoph Waltz.
I like the Michael Shannon pick.
Okay.
I like the Michael Shannon pick. I don't like the Christoph Waltz pick.
Man, those are people that I was like, man, if they ever made this movie, I'd be cool with this. I could see Brie Larson and like Michael Shannon just going ahead with the shit. One of the things I brought up about the book. So does Hooper actually die in the book from the shark? Because something I read somewhere said that Brody kills Hooper, and it's because Hooper fucked Miss Brody.
No.
That's a big.
That's a thing that he cheats with Hooper's
crazy.
His wife. Hooper bangs Mrs. Brody.
Yeah.
But from what I was reading, because I haven't read the book yet.
Okay.
Like I said, I just got that book. So
okay.
From what I read, he dies. It plays out like the shark cage.
Okay.
Like the movie, but the shark fucking gets him inside the cage.
I
did read that because it was like, oh, Hooper actually dies from the shark cage, but it's not as sad because he's actually like a piece of shit and fucking like fuck Brody's wife.
Yeah.
And shit. Like, so he's kind of like a scumbag.
Like, whoa, what a crazy element to possibly bring.
Which is also why Spielberg was like, nah, we don't need to go into all that. Or, I don't need. We got enough.
Already got 2 hours.
He's like, I don't need to fucking be doing this shit.
What's your favorite scene from this movie?
The scar scene, the USS Indianapolis speech.
Okay. I love the beach scene where Alex dies. I think the whole setup of that was just real fun. I love the shots they were taking and the brutality of Alex's death. It was just very entertaining for me. What tier do you consider this movie? Not just for the time, but what do you this is another one that I consider, like Signs, to be a middle tier movie.
Yeah, and I'm gonna get killed for it, but I'm still going top tier. I just think the tricks that Spielberg's pulling to get you invested is not easy shit to do, man. Like, you think like, oh, how obvious to just fucking put barrels in the shark and track the barrels and not the shark. Like, it takes creative brain power and to execute that shit well, to like make the dock be the scary thing in the object that turns and comes after a fisherman, but we know it's a shark. Like, things like that all fucking add up, and I think being as fucking young as he was, like, could you imagine making one of, arguably, whether people believe or not, like one of the best movies out there?
Yeah.
Fucking, what, 6 years ago, 7 years ago? You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy.
It is crazy, yeah.
Like, he shot for like, a third of a year, when it was supposed to be, a couple months shoot. It's like, there's a lot of things that Spielberg went into to pull this off, and I think it just holds up so much. Like this isn't like going back and watching Predator for me. Like, Predator's still okay, but like I feel like that's got a lot more growing pains than this does.
Yeah.
Like, this is like, it's like, oh, this dude made a solid fucking movie. The only thing that's hurting it is like, oh, it's clearly like in the 70s.
Yes.
Like, like 70s equipment and such.
Which is one of those things where I'm like, man, are we at it? Or I honestly wouldn't be opposed to a remake.
It would be tough. It would be tough to do.
Would you accept a remake if Steven Spielberg did it?
Yeah, if he was attached, yeah. But I don't think he's smart enough where he won't open that can of worms.
Because like musical artists do it all the time. Like, hey, I'm going to remake this song, and it's definitely not the same.
It's
caliber.
how I feel about Jurassic Park. I'd have to read this book because I think if they straight up want to just reboot Jurassic Park, they can do it just like they did the first one, but just make it more like the book.
Yeah,
you make it more like the book, you're gonna feel like you got a different movie with it being the same movie, and you can get more graphic now because of the world that it's in. Like, back then, you couldn't be doing all the shit that's in the book, which I have a feeling that's how Jaws is too. Jaws is going to probably be a lot like that, and like the cheating and scandalous type shit is going to all be in the book. You can do all that now, and no one blinks a fucking eye. So I think if they remade Jurassic Park using like the source material actually,
Yeah.
that's a way you could do it. So like I said, I want to read the book, and then maybe I'd be like, oh, you could remake this and still make it feel fresh in a way.
Yeah.
Because no one wants just a shot-for-shot remake. They did it with Psycho. It didn't work.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it doesn't work when you do a shot-for-shot remake.
No.
It just doesn't play.
Doesn't. We discussed doing a top 3 Spielberg movies.
Yeah.
Let's go with my 3 and then your 3.
Okay.
Go back and forth with that. So my number 3 is going to be Jurassic Park.
Nice.
How about yours?
Saving Private Ryan.
Say good pick.
Yeah. I could argue for this to like be my one, to be honest, but it's like I just happen to just really like these other two personally more.
Yeah.
But Saving Private Ryan's probably one of Spielberg's like best movies as far as like you want to see some like a complete project put together, and like you know, if you cry at certain movies, like Saving Private Ryan's like you're in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's a heavy fucking movie and some of the best performances
And it's
on camera.
it's almost like
It's heavy to watch.
it's almost a sin for me to say it. I've only seen Saving Private Ryan once in its entirety, and then it's always been one of those things like it's on TV and it's in
I've
bits
seen
and
it
pieces.
tons of times, but over the summer, over one of the holidays, maybe it was 4th of July, it was on TV, like HBO or something, just playing randomly, and I watched right in the beginning. I turned it on, and I sat in the backyard with my dad and watched the whole fucking movie because I was just like, I can't stop. I was like,
it's a great
every
movie.
time I was like, all right, we're good now, and then the scene would come up, and I'm like, God, I love this scene. You know, it's like, fuck, I want to see this scene. Like the church scene came up, or this
I got
scene
shit
came
to do
up,
right now,
and
but I
was like,
can't walk
fuck,
away.
Man, well,
Yeah.
this is a great scene. After this scene, I'll get up, and then the next scene, I'm like, oh, fuck, I forgot this is the next thing, and I just can't stop watching it. I just think Saving Private Ryan,
It's a good movie.
great movie for me.
My number 2 is Catch Me If You Can.
Great fucking movie.
I love the cast. I love everything about that movie. I think it's funny. It's just always been one that I turn on and I enjoy it every time I watch it.
My number 2 is Jaws.
Jaws. Okay. Nice. My number 1 is Hook.
Great movie.
I love Hook.
Just showed Jordan Hook for the first time in his life,
Oh, no
like
shit.
last year, and yeah, he was like, I was like, because I kept telling him, I was like, dude, you need to watch Hook. Like,
Yeah.
it's a fantastic fucking movie.
Yeah.
Also, the best practical set in the world. They built a pirate town.
Yeah.
I don't want to argue with anybody. It's the best. You can't. They literally built a pirate town. It's awesome.
I really wish this is one of those movies that I would love a prequel to Hook. I want to see, especially with Dustin Hoffman. Like,
yeah.
granted, he's super old
Very,
now,
yeah,
but like
very old,
I would love to see his Hook lose his hand to Peter Pan and shit like that. Like I want to. That's always integral of like every time you see Hook and Peter go at each other, he's like, "You took my
Yeah, the
hand."
cat,
I want to see that scene of him taking
yeah.
his hand. I would love to see that. What is your number 1?
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah. Again, I don't think Jaws and Jurassic Park are the best Spielberg movies, technically speaking. Like, I think
No.
if you broke them down, they would get outranked easily. But for me, yeah, Jurassic Park is just my favorite.
I mean, these are just our opinions, and I mean,
It's my
it
favorite.
really, when you're picking the top 3 Spielberg
That's the
movies,
thing, too, is you pull up that dude's
Yeah.
IMDb, and it's like, dude, damn near every one of his movies you can argue as being one of the best movies of XYZ.
Yeah.
It's like, motherfucker. Yeah, and I love Ready Player One. I watch Ready.
yeah.
It's my guilty pleasure of, like, at night.
gonna
like,
turn this
when
on, yeah.
I
It's a
fucking
darker
turn it
movie,
on
so you don't-
all the
yeah.
time, dude. I love
I
Ready
really
Player One.
like Minority Report, and I forget that he fucking directed that. I'm like, God damn, Minority Report's
The
a
thing
great
is
movie.
that not a lot of people realize is Steven Spielberg's the king of acquiring fantastic book IPs and turning
And that's
them
something I
into
didn't notice,
movies.
too.
And because he doesn't write a lot of his own scripts,
No.
if you ever noticed,
I
he
did notice that.
Ready Player One's a book, Jurassic Park's a book, Jaws is
Jaws?
a book.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's more books that he's written off of. You know, Catch Me If I Can is a story, which I'm sure is a goddamn biography somewhere
Yeah.
that's under another title. He's the master of
Saving
finding.
Private Ryan, he took that. I mean,
Yeah,
a
it's-
world event.
He's the master of finding shit that are incredible stories and then
Schindler's
just
List.
doing them before they actually get really, really. I mean, Ready Player One was big too, but he wanted to make Ready Player One a long time ago. He just knew he didn't have technology for it, so he wanted to wait on it
Yeah.
to make it look better. So that's why he did it when he did it. But he's the master of like, all right, you have never heard of this book Jaws, but I've already read it. And it's going to be amazing. I'm gonna make a movie out of it because now you don't know which came first. You know, it seems like it's his idea and it's but really, this dude fucking read Harry Potter and was like, oh, dude, I can make a movie out of that. No shit, you can make a movie out of it.
Jurassic Park's in that same boat. I mean, Jurassic Park came out in 90, and I think the movie came out in 92.
Correct.
It's like you're just 2 years after. It's like,
he met Michael Curtin, who wrote Jurassic Park, on a set of another movie, and while they're sitting there talking, Michael turned and said, "Oh, I'm working on a new book. It's called Jurassic Park." And Steve said, "Oh, tell me about it." And he read him he told him the synopsis of it, and he said, "I'm gonna make that into a movie. So when you finish it, come to me before you sell it to anyone else. I'll just buy it straight from you." And that's exactly how he got all that.
Nice.
And then he's also fucking a genius because he takes these dudes and goes, "Look, I want to take your book, but you're also gonna co-write the screenplay."
Okay.
So Michael Crichton, and
I think
or whatever, however you say it, and Peter Belanchi or some shit. Yeah, Peter Benchy or something. I can't say his last name. Yeah, they all have co-writing screenplay credits. So he goes, "All right, I'm gonna buy your book and give you all your rights," because I think they paid him like $125,000 for his book rights, which back then it's a lot of money. You know, it's a lot of money now.
Yeah,
but then he also goes, "Oh, I'm not cutting you out of the process. Like, I'll bring you in with my scriptwriter guy. And you're obviously the dude that wrote the story. Now just transition it to screen." Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what he does with these guys. And it's just like, you motherfucker, man. And it works. Yeah. It's banger after banger after fucking banger, dude.
In his filmography, I think there's only like one or two.
The Terminal. You ever see The Terminal, bro?
I've never seen The Terminal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, great movie. Fucking feel good movie. Like, it's a really good, like.
I've heard good things.
Yeah. It'll make you cry for sure.
Like, Schindler's List is one of those ones that I'm like, I love Schindler's List, but I'm only watching it one time.
Yeah,
I never need to watch it again.
Well, it's a tough watch.
Yeah.
And that's why that movie took him like 10 years to make or whatever, because he was like, dude, I'm a Jewish dude. This is hard shit.
Absolutely. That was our Jaws, guys. That was something that Tyler's been looking forward to very long. This is his birthday pick, so that was excited to talk about it with him as well. I'm excited that I don't hate it as much as I did before.
I'm excited too, because I thought this was going to be just like me having to fight you this whole time and like convince you to like the movie that I like.
No, and it
wasn't that at all. It was just me trying to convince you to like Quint, which is all right. I'll start with that, which is fine.
I mean, it might take a while for that,
that's
but
right.
if
we'll get there.
That's all you got to get, yeah. We're going to move on to our read, play, watch. My read, something we brought up quite a bit.
Oh, you finally,
I finished it.
Fuck yeah.
Jurassic Park, man.
Hell yeah.
Dude, great recommendation. Right? I fucking loved it.
It's corny to say because everyone says it, but it's literally like way better than the movie.
Yep.
And the movie's fucking
way better.
The movie's phenomenal, but the book, it's a different ballgame.
And
it's awesome.
What's really cool about it is that when you're reading a book, it's supposed to be your imagination of what you could picture, but with the addition of being able to witness or envision the characters that actually play them in the movie,
you can see Jeff Goldblum being Ian Malcolm and like in that situation. I get exactly what you're saying.
Sam Jackson, Dennis Nedry, all these characters, Tim, Alexa, whatever the hell her name is, Lexi, the
Lexi's
girl,
the girl,
yes.
and then Ellie's the
like being able to picture all of them, Hammond, everybody was fantastic.
Yep.
The charts and the maps and shit in there,
he does a lot of cool
because
shit.
I listened to the Audible, like I told you, I listened to it at a 1.3 speed, so it was a little bit faster, and it was like it's a 15-hour listen. Yeah. So I was like, damn,
it's a big book.
Yeah.
Well, this is 2 books, but it's a big book in general.
I do plan on listening to The Lost World, but oh god, dude. I loved the beginning, the very opening scene. I was like, why didn't they do this for the movie? Yeah. This would have been fantastic.
It's cool, too, because you start seeing, like, oh, they took that from the first book and just put it in the second movie.
Yes.
Like, you see a lot of things that happen in the Lost World movie. Like, you can tell Spielberg read the first book and was like, God damn, there's a lot here. I can make this 2 movies. And like, even that's kind of the approach they started.
There's a scene with the raft where they're going through water and the T-Rex is in the water. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is fucking Jurassic Park 3. Like, they were in a boat, but it was like the
tell the whole Jurassic Park universe has taken what's so good in the first book and kind of spread it out.
Yeah. So, I mean, everybody, this was my read. This is something that Tyler recommended a while ago, and I finally got around to it. If there's people out there that are saying, I saw the movie, that's all I need to see, nah, read this book. Like I said, it's a 15-hour listen if you're going to listen to it on Audible or the audiobook of it. It was so fucking entertaining, and it was so good. I can't recommend it more, and I know Tyler recommends it as well.
It's one of those, too, like, you don't dread, like, chapters don't really drag. They're, like, not super long, and
it's kind of like a script.
Thrill ride.
It's a script
the
in a way,
whole,
too.
Like, book where like you're flying through pages when you're reading and listening.
It goes from like Control to Dennis to
Correct.
all these, like each chapter is not just like chapter 1. This is what we're doing.
Kind of bounces
Each
around.
chapter kind of follows a character in a way, and it's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it.
I'm glad you liked it because
Yeah.
it's one that I always recommend to people because they're like, oh, all right, I get it. Jurassic Park. You like Jurassic Park? I'm like, no, you don't get it. Like you gotta.
It's a completely different
You
thing.
read the book and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, no shit. Spielberg read this and was like, oh, I want to make this into a movie.
Yeah.
Then you watch the movie and you're like, damn, this is really good. I
They
love this
both-
movie.
they both-
But you're
yeah.
like, motherfucker, dude. He could have done a lot more.
They both do their own thing, and
Yeah.
they're both great.
Yep.
Yeah, but this takes the cake for sure.
I don't have a read, but a play.
Yeah.
I haven't been playing it much, but since it's topical, I'm going to reiterate to play Maneater, which
Okay.
is literally GTA with a shark. You are a shark, and
That's
you
so
get
cool.
to swim around. I don't think I brought it up on the podcast. I may have before.
I think you mentioned
but
it.
it's
Maybe
one of those
you
things.
just mentioned it to me.
One of those things. It's actually a great game, and it sounds super stupid, but it's incredibly fun when you start playing. And I don't know how other ways to put it, but like when you're playing, the controls that they have given you, you feel like you're a shark. You feel the movement. You have to bite and kind of shake things and stuff. Like you go after other animals and you eat these like certain kind of things that level you up in a way. And the whole idea is like you're evolving. So like you can evolve your fins to be like rock type fins or electric type fins. And they all do different shit. And the end game's just to pretty much like eat all the humans and boats
Okay.
you can find. Because all these boats, it starts with like, and it's all like it's like Saints Row in a way where it's all like parody. So it's a lot of it's like funny over the top actor. Like you're just trying to escape this like Louisiana kind of like a Quint, like a crazy fisherman guy who caught your mom when you were a kid and like guts it and kills it. Like the story starts out with this crazy fisherman like catching a big shark and killing it, and it cuts it open and like a baby shark falls out, and the baby shark bites this dude's hand off and then jumps in the water, and then that's where the game starts. You're the baby shark. So now you're like, it's like a reverse Bambi where you're like,
Okay.
these humans killed my mom. I'm going to become the baddest shark in the seas, and I'm going to eat all the humans that I can.
So this is like a Jaws revenge in
Yes,
a way
dude,
too. Like
it's hilarious.
The people over at Does It Hold Up podcast, they were telling me about Jaws Revenge, and they were like, it's literally just the Jaws going after Brody's family. I was like, what? Like, it's crazy.
The sequels of Jaws are wild, dude. But yeah, Maneater, again, it's a lot of fun. They have DLC out for it. They have like this like, nuclear type DLC. You can kind of like become like nuclear type shark, and it looks cool. Like your shark when it's
Okay.
fully upgraded. Like
Is this an older game? Or
No, it just came out like a year or two ago.
Oh, wow,
So
okay.
it's fairly new. It was from like an indie studio, so it didn't get a ton of press. It had a good release and great reviews, but it's a short game. It's not that crazy or anything.
Yeah.
But it's a ton of fucking fun, and I personally love it. And everyone I've suggested it to that's like, this is stupid. Like they actually play it and they're like, this game is so much fun. It just you can throw people in the air and tail slap them and they'll just fly. They're just gone. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah.
it's so ridiculous. It's so fun that you're a shark. So it's a really fun game, and it's definitely on sale and cheaper than like a normal
Okay.
game because of how long it's been out. Maneater, it's for all systems and everything like that. It's a lot of fun. I recommend it.
I have 2 watches. We finished a show, Sam and I. We finished the season 2 of Only Murders in the Building.
Nice.
Enjoyed it. I know it's picked up for a season 3. I know they've said that Paul Rudd is going to be a character, or he was casted in the new season. We enjoyed it. We up until the last episode, again, just like the first season, we were guessing like, oh my gosh, is this the person? Is this not the person? Oh, I think it is. No, maybe it's not. So it was very good mystery thriller.
Yeah, I plan on
like-
watching it. It's got a lot of good reviews. My mom's really into
Yeah,
it.
it's fucking funny.
I know, and I
It's-
love Steve Martin and Martin Short. So
Yeah, it's a good cast.
Yeah.
And then I did watch the new Elvis movie as well.
Oh, nice.
And I liked it. I'm just not a big Baz Luhrmann.
Bars.
Baz Luhrmann,
Baz
whatever.
Luhrmann,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm not a big fan of his.
He's definitely got a style. He's got
and
a
that's what it
style
is.
and a feel to how he does his movies.
I do like the story. I feel like the end of it kind of capped up really fast. It's hard for me, especially for music biopic films, to not compare it to Straight Outta Compton. Like Straight Outta Compton is my favorite music biopic movie, and it just doesn't live up to that standard. But that's just my opinion. But I don't like when Baz chooses to put modern songs into his movies, kind of like he did with Gatsby. Like he had hip hop songs. I'm like, what the
that's
fuck
like
are you
his
doing?
like fucking.
And I'm like, that's
his thing.
and that's his thing.
Yep.
And there's a lot of times where the colors and the way that he decides to move the camera was very. I was like, whoa, it's jarring. What the fuck just happened? But I did enjoy Austin Butler as Elvis. Tom Hanks was kind of off for me.
People have been holding him to the fire for this one. They're not very happy with his performance. Now, again, knowing Tom Hanks, he probably watched footage of this guy, and maybe he is acting just like the guy. But I don't know, and I just am hearing that it didn't transition as well. So.
Yeah, it was not one of his best.
I've seen some things on YouTube where I'm like, it's kind of weird. And now people are killing him for his Geppetto accent too. It's like everyone's like, just stop letting Tom Hanks do accents. It's kind of hard when the dude's won Academy Awards his entire life.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to tell that guy, hey, maybe you shouldn't try this or that when the guy's never lost at anything. So I don't know.
You telling Woody what to do, man?
That's what I'm saying. Like the dude was given a medal by the United States military for portraying a soldier so realistically.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
He got a real Army medal for acting that good of a soldier? Like, what? And yeah, so nuts, dude.
Yeah.
So I can't take respect off him, but I do know it's been mixed reviews on Tom Hanks.
As a person, of yourself who is into film and into acting, I urge you do watch it at some point. It's worth a watch, but I wouldn't say you need to put it to the top of your list.
Yeah, no, and I don't mind Bars Luhrmann. I like what he does. I think it's interesting because the dude always makes movies that he wants to like. He's one of those, like, you can turn on any of his movies and be like, oh, I know this movie. Like, I know who this is doing this. Like, it's a style right away, which is harder to do in nowadays film.
Yeah. What was your watch?
My watch is something I'm going to double down. It's a cheap answer, but I can't stress enough because I finally finished it. Light and Magic, dude.
Oh, okay.
I finished it finally, and it just got better every episode.
Ooh.
It literally, and I think it's because every episode it moves forward in time. So every episode you're just getting closer to like the actual shit that you grew up on and like remember more. So like by the time I got to 5 and 6, we're talking movies that like we really fuck with, and now we're peeling back the curtain on like your Terminators and your fucking Jurassic Parks and anything. You realize anything that fucking used special effects back in the day just used ILM because they created it and were the only ones doing it. So when they start interviewing these different directors and shit like that, it's like, oh my God. Like, it just kept getting better and better with every episode of just like blowing my mind and just being like, this is an amazing show. Like, I want another season so bad. Because it's not like they kind of left it, like they didn't like, they don't bring you up to like, this is what we're doing in 2020. Like, it kind of like the season ends like in the like 90s, early 2000s kind of thing. So it's like, I really hope like we get more ILM shit or they pick a different studio to do this with, because it's so cool to see the curtain kind of revealed and see all this. And it's nuts by the end of, you meet all these characters in the beginning as like these 20-year-old dudes and all that, and then by the end of the season they start interviewing these guys. And you start seeing who some of these people are, not in like the acting world, like they're not famous celebrities, but it's like, oh, this was the animator for the first Star Wars. He created X, Y, and Z. And you're like, you're telling me Lucas found that kid when he was 19 and just now this guy happened to go on. And like, there's some dudes that have created some things that we both use and many people use on an average daily basis that you're like, no fucking way was that guy just working at ILM. And it's just like the amount of just crazy talent and success that came after it is insane. So I just urge you all to watch it, because there are multiple moments where my mouth was like dropped open of like, you're gonna tell me that's that guy? Like nut moments. It's awesome.
Very cool.
So I'm doubling down. I know last week I recommended it, but again, it's like 6 episodes, hour long. It's not super long, but it's a thick series, and I loved it. I could not get enough of it, so I'm just gonna throw that back out there to go and watch it, because it's a lot of fun, and everyone I've recommended so far has come back being like, yeah, this is actually really fucking cool. So
I know I plan to watch it eventually. It's on my list for sure. What do we got for going on for the next episode, Tyler?
The next episode we are gonna do Warrior, September 12th.
Yes.
Which is a movie we both like.
Yeah, I remember you texting me and you were like, hey, I think we should do Warrior. And I was like, dude, I was just literally thinking about this movie today and said we should find a way to push this in somewhere.
Because I do think this is a movie that maybe not a lot of people aren't super familiar with.
No.
This is more of a like, not niche movie, but if you missed it, I could see you missing it, and it's not something that's like advertised or put up somewhere where it's like, oh, Warrior came to Netflix. It's nothing. It's not like that. So this was my introduction pretty much to Tom Hardy, other than
Bane.
No, Inception.
Okay.
Inception's where I first saw Tom Hardy because he plays, like kind of a smaller role in the crew. This was like Tom Hardy's the lead role and Joel Egerton as well. These were their big, like, holy shit. Yeah, love this movie. Yep. I can't wait to get into it.
I'm excited to talk about it as well. It's been a while since I watched it.
Same, so I'm excited to go back and watch it because I remember being like, this movie's just... I have no interest in getting in a cage and being a cage fighter and all that, but like something about that movie just like speaks to you.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, it's a great movie.
If you guys are interested in watching that ahead of time, it is on HBO Max, so you guys can watch it on there.
For now, we never know when you wake up and HBO is going to say, oh, by the way, we took all this down.
Get it while you can. Like Tyler said, that'll be September 12th. So Warrior came out 2011. We'll be covering the next episode. Bear with me now because this is usually a part where Sam jumps in and tells you all about all the different places you could find us. So I'm going to be doing this, and it's been a while since I did it. So you guys can watch us, all of our episodes, or listen to us on YouTube. We have all the episodes. The audio is just on there, so if you want to listen to us, you can listen to us on there. We also have some of the episodes that we have videos for, and I have a bunch of cutaways and shit that you guys can... If you guys don't know what we're talking about or who we're talking about, it's going to have a flash up there of what we're actually talking about. Mm-hmm. You can also find us on Facebook. Come hang out. I'd like to post, like I said in the beginning of this episode, there's a really cool Vanity Fair thing with Danny DeVito. I'm going to post that for everyone to see, so that way you guys just don't hear me talking about it. You can actually watch the video. And then you guys can find us on Twitter. Our page for the podcast is NNWH Pod. You can find us there. You can follow us all individually as well. I am the Matman22. Tyler is at Gambit the Goon, and Sam is at Samwise1227. Also, for all the gamers, if you guys want to follow Tyler, he's going to be on Twitch. He's Gambit the Goon on there as well. Sir. And you can find him. He's playing video games all the time. Check out all the shit he's doing. Let us know what you guys are into, what you guys want to see on future episodes, what your nerd is. We want to hear about it. If you guys want to leave us reviews. Leave us some stars. Hearts,
comment,
whatever.
like, subscribe, whatever the fucking thing to do is, help us and do it.
Do it, please. But that's all we got for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Until next time, stay nerdy. I'm Matty.
I'm Tyler. Catch you on the next one.